This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Media Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see lots of other podcasts from all of our great friends, as well as if you would like to start your own podcast that can provide you with all of the tools and resources to do so there. So please head to aratemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
On with the show with a flawless intro.
That was a flawless intro. I definitely didn't stumble through it twice. That definitely didn't happen.
Flawless victory.
Flawless. Yeah, he's been playing Mortal Kombat. Get used to that all day, folks. On today's show, apparently Jesse Eisenberg is making a musical. Who knew?
Can he sing?
I don't know. We'll find out. We've got a run of trailers, including Pixar's new movie, with a surprisingly funny joke in the trailer that actually made me laugh. We got a trailer for The Bad Guys 2, a trailer for Wallace and Gromit. We got a trailer for Dream Productions. We've got a trailer for Minecraft. Surprisingly, they're making a Wild Hogs sequel with all of the original cast.
It's the kids. They yearn for the mines.
DCU Batman news, and I've got a ton. We got a ton. Popeye, but bad. But there's just a ton of news today because our good friend Jake was here last week. We're gonna get to what he left behind. Later in the show, but we didn't do as much news last week because
there just wasn't time.
There just wasn't time. Yeah, in the 4-hour podcast, there wasn't time to cover all of the news.
4.5 hours, I think it was. Yeah. There just wasn't time.
Jake, if you're watching this, I'm currently in the midst of for the audience. If you enjoy watching the edited version of this podcast, I do post occasional long form videos on the YouTube page, and I am presently, which is formatted. They look different. They don't look like this. They've got clips in them from the movies. They're quite a bit more zhuzhed up. But I'm currently working on a Batman video from Jake's appearance on our podcast, and I had over 2 hours worth of footage I have to comb through. So I look forward to that coming out. It's probably going to be 2 parts, and they're probably each going to be over an hour long. It's going to be awesome.
You're earning that paycheck.
I'm earning that paycheck. So yeah, let's jump in with, I guess we'll start with that Jesse Eisenberg musical, which he's apparently going to direct an untitled musical comedy. And apparently he's recently wrote and directed a comedy drama movie called A Real Pain. And
is he in it? Or is he just directing it?
Actually, I don't know. Maybe he's not in it. Maybe he's just writing and directing it. Maybe he's not in it.
Because if he's not in it, okay. He's not someone I would have thought of when I think musical.
No, absolutely not. But hey, I mean, I'm not against it.
If he can sing, cool.
I can't think
That's great.
as to whether or not he has. But yeah, it's apparently going to be about a community theater production, which I kind of like that, like high school or a high school musical, but for community theater. As someone who has done community theater, I do kind of love the premise.
So like the musical is about a theater team making a play.
Yeah.
So the question then is, what is the in-universe play that they're working on going to be?
I'm kind of hoping
play within a play, if you will.
I'm kind of hoping it's like an original one, but I don't know.
Well, if they took it on the road, it would be funny if it was different. Like the thing that they're working on was different Broadway plays that are famous at the time.
Yeah, that would be funny. But no, it's community theater. They don't got the budget for that. But yeah, it's fun. That'll be fun. I don't have much to say about that because I wasn't expecting that. Should we do all the trailers, Jordan? You want to do all the trailers?
Sure.
So the one trailer, there's a couple of trailers I have which I didn't send you. I sent almost all of them, but
Pixar. The children yearn for the mines.
Yes, we're gonna get to Minecraft. I feel like that's a reference I'm supposed to get anyway. Pixar released a trailer for the new movie. I don't know how to pronounce this. Elio, and it looks fun. It's about a kid who wants to get abducted. The trailer actually has a really funny joke where he's like dressed up like an alien and he's waiting for the aliens to come get him.
Oh,
and he's like
that kind of abducted. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Well, that's a funny joke.
I was gonna say for a Pixar movie, there was a lot of I didn't know anything about this, and I'm just going off your words. And for a Pixar movie, a kid who wants to be abducted is a very strange thing to hear.
Well, it's funny because there's a really funny joke where he's waiting to be abducted by the aliens, and there's a person who's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm waiting to be abducted by aliens, by aliens, by aliens." And I was like, "That's funny. That's a funny joke."
So they acknowledge it. That's funny.
I'm like, that's funny. That's funny. You're funny. That's funny.
That's funny.
And then it's like, yeah, he ends up, and it's him going on a little adventure with aliens, and it looks really funny, and the all alien designs are different, and like a lot of people in the comments are like, oh my god, it's like a new thing. So I think audiences are primed for like a new thing that's not just like a sequel or a remake, and I'm like, good for Pixar, good for Pixar.
A reboot or a live action adaptation of a thing.
Oh yeah, that's not in my. You know what? For whatever. No, did I conclude that? Oh, it's not in here, but I did save it. I guess I must have accidentally deleted it. Yeah, let's talk about the How to Train Your Dragon trailer, because like,
I mean, it looks accurate.
It looks accurate as hell. Holy shit!
I just don't understand why. Like, who's it? Why?
Yeah, artistically, I just don't get it. What's the point? Like, I saw someone said it's not for you; it's for the kids, and I was like, okay, but I could just show the kids the original. So like, what's the point? I was
gonna say, I feel like the kids are gonna enjoy the original more than this. This, like, that's for the kids.
No, I saw
the original cartoon is bright and colorful and like fun for a kid to look at. This is dull and muted. And like, this is not for the kids. The animated one is for the kids.
I saw a lot of comments across the internet that said, "Shut up, my kid's super excited for this." So,
but why?
I don't, because it looks like the thing. But then my point is just like, yeah, why not just show them the original thing? It's like I'm in the camp of like, I don't like it when these Disney remakes look like the thing. I want them to not look like the thing.
I don't. I mean,
I want it to be different. I don't want it to do the same thing. If I wanted to watch the same thing, I'd watch the original.
If it has to exist, then yes, I agree with that sentiment. I want it to stop existing. I want them to stop doing the live action.
Never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
For the exact reason of like, no, if it looks like the thing, I don't understand artistically, and if it doesn't like the thing, it bothers me because it doesn't look like the thing.
Unless it's like deliberately doing something different.
It feels like a bastardization of the thing that I liked and that I grew up with. So I don't want these to exist. I want these to fail. I want these to fail so that companies will realize that people don't want them and that they stop making them and make original things like this alien movie, like this abduction movie that you're talking about. That's what I want. I want more new things.
I just don't. That trailer looked like an AI replication. Like, you know those videos where it's like, what if How to Train Your Dragon looked like in AI in real life, and it's AI? That's what that looked like. It does. It looks so stiff.
It's not even that the 3D characters look the same, but like they've got Gerard Butler is back as the dad. The character Hiccup is literally doing like the exact same, down to the exact same movements and motions as the 3D character.
It's staged.
Like it is like one for one.
Like say what you will about that
point, why?
Say what you will about that we've talked about the Aladdin one here multiple times, but if I compared the Aladdin from that movie to the Aladdin from the animated movie, they're two decidedly different characters, and that's interesting.
That is a retelling of the story,
right?
This is a copying of the.
Yeah, this is a recreation
in a lesser format,
in an absolutely literal sense, and it's like, yeah, this. What are you doing for this story? How is this servicing the story in any significant way? It's not, other than you clearly spent a lot of money making a really accurate looking Toothless. Like, my God, is it accurate? But like, it's the same thing I feel about that Stitch movie, which we're starting to see stuff come out from, where it's like, yeah, man, it sure looks like Stitch. It sure behaves like Stitch. It sounds like Stitch, but like, in service of what? What is it? I'm hoping for more out of that Stitch movie because the original creative team is involved, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. when I saw this, it just the How to Train Your Dragon one, it feels like it's lost its soul.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, that's kind of, maybe that sounds hyperbolic. I don't know, but to me, that's just what it comes across and what it feels like.
Like, it's fun.
It feels like a soulless version of the original.
It's fun watching people dress up and like reenact stuff on TikTok, right? But like, do we need an entire movie of that? I don't know. Maybe we're the cynical ones, because I saw a lot of people be like, my kid's jonesed for this, and that's who it's meant for. It's meant for the kids. So if the kids love it, to be fair, I will never shit on multiple versions of a thing, because we grew up on multiple versions of multiple things. So like, that's fine. If you want to have 5 different versions of Hiccup, cool, fine, whatever. But like, do something with it.
Yeah, make it different. Then.
Make it different.
Or like, if you want to have a live action version, here's my thing. You want to have a live action version of like a Hiccup movie? Okay. Why does it have to be a retelling of the first one? Why not just make a movie that has those characters?
I mean, you could adapt the story of the first movie.
There's a lot of no, but there's no need. That exists. The thing is that they've had stories that took place, like shows that took place in between the movies. Why not just make this one of those stories?
Yeah, but
it doesn't. You don't need to retell the original.
But they want to. They want to. Like, that's the thing, is you should be allowed creatively to adapt a story. Like I said, we're gonna.
They're not adapting.
Hold on, let me finish. Like, today we're gonna talk about different versions of Les Mis, right? And which ones we prefer. Spoiler alert. And that is perfectly fine, but they do something different. Like, we're gonna talk about the differences between the interpretations of those characters. So yes, if you want to tell the story of how Hiccup met Toothless, sure, fine, do that. But like, don't just do literally exactly the same thing. But again, we might be the cynical ones, because I've seen a lot of excited people for this. Like, a lot of excited people for this.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't see the point. But as someone, I like seeing adaptions. I like seeing different interpretations of characters. And this isn't. You do, though. That's the thing, is you do, because you've watched 1,000 different interpretations of characters. So the notion of interpreting characters is fine. It's just in how you do it. This is not interpreting. This is recreating.
No. This is copying.
Boring way. Like, he's not even like, it does, like, he's not going to be the same. He's going to say the same lines, but not sound, not with any of the energy of you.
I wouldn't even call it recreating, because you're not recreating anything. You're just copying. It's just copying the original.
It is a recreation.
It's not recreating. It's just copying.
I mean, you can. Well, I mean, in a
recreating would be if these characters at least went in with like a different inflection, different motions, different actions. That's recreating. That's taking the same scene, sure, but the things within the scene trying to change it. They're not doing that. They're copying it 1-to-1. It is copying the original.
I feel like you're splitting hairs, but I get the point stands. There's nothing remotely. Soulless. You said it best. Soulless. It absolutely does feel soulless. It just, but to be fair, people, this is what they wanted. Like, all those Disney ones, we in the minority were being like, no, we like the shit that's different. But everyone seal barked and went, no, we like all the shit that's the same. So like, this is the result of that. This is what you get. They just did the same thing.
That's the thing that's frustrating is like, yeah, in all those live action Disney stuff, you and I liked it when, like in the Aladdin one, for example. I like the things that are different about that compared to the original. Right. The stuff they do that's just the original, it's like, well, a friend like me is never going to be as good as Robin Williams. It can't be.
The Lion King is the best one for that, where it's like...
The Lion King is another great example.
It's just the first one, but worse.
Except they can't sing.
Right, and I just kind of... That's what this is going to be. There's just no way that's not what this is going to be. Anything can be good. Moving on. Speaking of anything can be good, we have spent way too much time talking about this. I felt that button note, it will be fine, because it will just be the original. The original was good. Yeah, the original was fine. I didn't think to be fair, I don't think those movies are as good as everyone else does. I think they're okay. I just don't think they're phenomenal.
Like I know that I'm gonna not walk out because I don't plan on watching it in theaters, because I refuse to support it. But when I inevitably watch it on streaming, I know my final thoughts are gonna be like, yeah, it's fine, because the original was fine and this was just the original but live action.
Speaking of fine,
I just don't understand it.
So Jordan, the children, they yearn for the mines. Is this a reference I'm supposed to fucking get? Because you keep saying it as though it's something I'm supposed to get.
Well, it's a thing. I keep saying it because it's a ridiculous line that is stupid. I feel like it's a reference to something, like to a meme or something from Minecraft. If it is, I don't specifically know it. I just again keep repeating it because it's a fucking ridiculous line that
Because
sounds absolutely stupid.
because all of the comments are just as a child I yearned for the mines, and then every other comment is like, it's a fun, it's like it's a funny joke. So I'm like, oh, they did the thing, and I'm like, okay, so is this a thing? Like I
Hold
don't.
on, you keep talking. I'm gonna try and look it up.
I otherwise think it looks fine. As a person who doesn't, I'm like, oh, I'm suitably being like drip fed references to things I know. Like, oh, hey, it's the zombies, and oh, hey, although I don't think we saw a creeper in this trailer. I don't believe. Did we see a creeper?
I think we see one at the end.
Did we see one at the end? And the Ender coin, which is a reference I understood.
Oh, okay, I got it. So the children yearn for the mines is a catchphrase used in memes to satirically support the loosening of child labor laws that became a prominent political topic in early 2023 amid Republican states such as Arkansas, Iowa, and Missouri, lowering the legal working age to 14. The catchphrase was coined in early 2022 on Twitter/X via a tweet about Minecraft, but later became more well known for the satirizing of repealing of child labor laws. In November 2024, the meme was referenced in the official trailer for a Minecraft movie.
Okay, then. Odd, very strange. Yeah, I think the movie looks fine. As a person who doesn't have an attachment to this franchise whatsoever, I'm like, it looks like a bad family friendly action movie.
Yeah, I mean, it screams like Jumanji.
Jumanji. I'm pretty sure it's directed by the same people. It's giving me Jumanji.
Like it screams that. So it's like I'm sure I'll walk out of it at the end of it shrugging and going like it's fine, not great, not bad, like not terrible, just middle of the road. I just hate that it's an I and a lot of the internet just hate that it's in live action. I don't
I
think it should be in live action.
I don't disagree, but also like based on my knowledge of Minecraft, the notion of like, oh, it's a space he goes to, and he has like he just has a keep with a collection of shit. You just kind of felt like Minecraft to me.
You're not wrong, and I think ultimately for me the issue is that it's in live action. Other than that, the rest of it looks fine, and I could care less about it. I don't even mind like the framework of like the outside world is in live action. I just think that it's not it's a mistake. I think it would be more fun and it would be more amusing if, like in the flashback scene, you see Jack Black in live action go through the portal, come through, and look like the normal Minecraft model, the
I don't
Steve
disagree.
model. Like I think that just works better, and it appeals to the people that want it to like that way because basically the directors and stuff have said that the reason why it's not in 3D for the entire movie is because that's been done with like the Minecraft story mode and stuff like that, like the games that have an actual story, right? Like that's why they wanted to do something different and do it in live action, which I think you could have had your cake and eat it too. You could have had all the framework and all the real world stuff in live action and had it be when they were in the Minecraft world, it's in 3D. And then you could have had a fun thing where the Minecraft characters escape into the real world and you get to see the real world versions of them. You get to have your cake and have things be in 3D and have it be in live action.
Yeah,
Like
fair enough. Is
you could have had your cake and eat it too. And the fact that they didn't just feels purposely antagonistic.
does Minecraft have a big ultimate evil? Because this trailer's like, we got to prepare for the
Ki-
big ultimate evil.
Kind of, sort of. Depends on which of the Minecraft games you're playing. As I know it, I'm not an expert by any means, but I know that like the quote unquote story of Minecraft, because there is technically an ending to Minecraft. Like I believe credits and everything. And that's when you use the Ender portal to go into the end, and there's an Ender dragon there. And once you defeat the Ender dragon, yeah, you get this whole, or at least at one point, this is what it was like. You get this whole like ending cutscene basically and credits. Um, so technically, that could be what they're talking about. But then also in the Minecraft, the one where it's basically a dungeon crawler. I don't remember which one that is, but there's like the piglin and stuff like that. There's an ultimate bad guy among them, basically.
Gotcha.
And being that in this we see the piglin is kind of appearing to be the antagonistic force, I assume they have some big bad leader who is the one that they're ultimately going to have to defeat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But also there's this one big mob, which is like a three-headed monster demon thing. I don't remember what it's called. Could be that too. I don't know. There's a lot of things in Minecraft that it could be. But if I was laying my money down, it's probably the piglin. Like there's a boss of the piglin.
Probably.
That's like an army force that they have to fight against. So it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that it looks all right. I think it looks all right. Anyway, next, the Dream Productions trailer, which I guess takes place between Inside Out 1 and 2. My thing was I was real into it until it went a 4-episode miniseries, and I was like, what the? Okay. That really seems like half-hearted.
I mean, what did you think it was going to be?
At least a full season of television. Like 4 episodes feels so like, or it feels like they wanted it to be a movie, but they couldn't commit to the idea. That's what it feels like.
No, I saw that and immediately I was like, this looks like on the second movie or the first movie, like there's a bonus feature where you get like a 10-minute short. That's what this feels like. This doesn't feel like it should be a full movie or like it should be even a show. To me, this feels like a 10-minute short that they have stretched into a 4-episode miniseries.
I don't know. I think it sustains a show.
Like it's cute and it's fun. I just don't. No, I don't. I don't think it sustains a show.
I think it absolutely sustains it, especially if you do like what it looks like. It's a parody of the. It's like an Office style parody. I think that absolutely works. I think it absolutely do that for at least one season. Like 4 episodes just feels like it feels so underserved for this franchise, which feels like it's not getting anything.
I don't know. I just It feels stretched, if anything, to me, but I'll have to wait and see. It's cute, though. It looks cute.
So, I don't understand. It's news that I don't understand why it's news. Because Scott Pilgrim, the Netflix show, has been canceled after 1 season. But, like...
Wasn't it done? Didn't it finish the story? I don't remember how that season ended.
I don't either.
It didn't leave anything open.
No, it didn't leave anything open ended, to my knowledge. It had a pretty close. And with the creator of Scott Pilgrim has come out and been like, yeah, there isn't going to be a season 2. They officially canceled it, but we didn't really plan for there to be a season 2 anyway. So I'm like, so then why is this news? Like, I don't understand why is this news?
I don't. Like, this feels like non-news news.
Can we not just have shows that wrap up nice and succinctly in 1 season? Like, did we constantly have that question of, is it coming back for season 2? No, it doesn't need to come back for season 2. It can just have a nice, solid 1 season show.
It didn't leave anything open for a season 2. So why would you expect there to be one?
I certainly wasn't expecting one.
To me, that's like you hit the end of Attack on Titan when there's a finished ending and be like, oh, so when's the next season gonna come out? And it's like, no, but there's an ending.
That's an ending. It ended.
It's finished.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird that's news.
And then Wallace and Gromit. I sent you the Wallace and Gromit trailer, and
that looks fun.
The only reason why it kind of interesting to me is because I recognize the bad guy.
The penguin.
Yeah, the penguin with the rubber glove. That's like from the first Wallace and Gromit short. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's a classic villain.
I was like, oh my god, it's that guy. I was like, oh my god, I recognized him.
I instantly recognized him. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. I don't think he's been in anything for like decades.
I was like, I get that reference. Yeah, the first teaser trailer where it's mostly just Wallace and Gromit. At the end, it's just you see the penguin. He puts the glove on his head, and I was like, oh my god, I get this reference. This is fun. This is a character. This is fun. Bring it back as character.
It looks absolutely just fun and cute and whimsical.
Because the gentleman who plays Wallace is the man. Yeah, he died, which is why they haven't really done anything with those characters in a while.
Is this a sound-alike?
Yeah, it's a new guy. Yeah, there's a new cast.
Interesting.
Jordan, you'll be excited to hear this. Apparently they're making Wild Hogs 2, which is like...
Really? 20 years too late.
10 years too late, certainly, but...
I don't know. When did the last one come out? 2009? 2008?
2007. You're close.
2007? So, yeah, that's like...
And even then...
14 years ago.
I don't know how well
I don't know how time works anymore.
He says, yeah, it's unclear as to whether or not it'll go to theaters or be streaming only. Oh, it's apparently a Disney movie. That's a Disney movie?
2006 is 10 years ago.
Huh. Interesting.
So,
So, apparently
yeah.
this isn't the first
Anyway,
time Wild Hogs 2 has been in development. There was a Wild Hogs 2 Bachelor ride scheduled to come out in 2010. However, the sequel was canceled in 2009 after the failure of Old Dogs. The
huh,
other
really.
interesting. See, I knew that Wild Hogs and Wild Dogs were like related. They're made by the same people.
Wild Dogs and Wild Hogs?
Old Dogs and Wild Hogs.
Oh, Old Dog's the Robin Williams one.
Yeah.
So, wait, they're related? So there's just two people in this universe that both look like John Travolta?
I don't know if it's in the same universe, but they're made. Those movies were made by the same people. So I guess
Okay.
maybe yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that tracks. They feel very
They,
similar.
yeah, I mean the naming scheme alone was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, that makes sense. Um,
So what is this one about them as grandpas now?
I have no clue. I mean, it's really odd considering Tim Allen's not very popular right now. But
Or any of them?
no, not really, not exceptionally. Maybe
But
Martin Lawrence. William H Macy. Yeah, he's still got some juice. I love William H Macy, so I'm a big fan of his. I've become a big fan of his over the overdoing this and other internet related stuff. I've watched enough of his stuff where I'm like, I quite enjoy him.
yeah, fair enough. If it's on a streaming thing, I'll probably check it out.
So they're making another what if.
Although I never ended up watching that National Treasure show. Hey,
Oh,
maybe I'll force you to watch it and tell me if it's any good.
we'll get there. Anyway, and then the two final trailers. The Bad Guys is apparently getting a sequel to Bad Guys 2. It looks really fun. There's a funny joke in there about with the shark. I'm probably going to make you watch that. I realize that uh yeah, these are all sneak preview hints to next week's episode. But
Bad Guys?
yeah, the Bad Guys.
Which one's that?
That's the one where it's the wolf, the snake, the shark, and I can't remember what the last animal is. And they're anthropomorphic animals. It's made by DreamWorks, and they're a bunch of like basically it's like Ocean's 11 but with animals.
Have I watched that?
I do not believe so. I keep saying you
Okay, I
should,
was
and
gonna
then
I was gonna say this doesn't sound familiar.
I keep saying you should, and then you never do. So there may be an opportunity next week where you don't get a choice.
Eh,
It's a good movie. You'll like
all
it.
right.
And then also there's one final trailer in our massive round of trailer roundup this week. Apparently they're making another one of those what if blank but awful movies for Popeye called Shiver Me Timbers. And I'm gonna maybe watch the trailer again. And the whole thing is like it really wants to send you the message that it's basically a parody of like 80s slasher flicks. Like it looks like the trailer for like a because I had to
So
watch so many Friday the 13th trailers. It looks like a Friday the 13th trailer. If you're gonna
okay,
ask
so
me what the deal is,
my big question is, do kids even know who Popeye is? Is Popeye relevant?
I don't
I
know.
barely know who Popeye is. I know who Popeye is, but I didn't really like watch a lot of his stuff growing up. Like,
Oh,
do kids in 2020, whatever we're in now, whatever year it is, whatever year it is when you're watching this, do kids even know who Popeye is?
no, but like also this is not a movie made for children. It's made for adults. Like it's very bloody and gory. So like I
Okay,
surmise.
okay, okay.
Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's one of those what if beloved childhood character was a bad guy slasher villain movies.
It's a Blood and Honey.
It's a Blood and Honey, but with Popeye. It's called Shiver Me Timbers.
Oh, okay,
And
okay. I missed that part. Sorry.
and having watched the trailer, um, I don't understand how it's related to Popeye. He doesn't sound or look anything like Popeye, and I don't see the connection to Popeye. It, it's just kind of it's just kind
Legally
of
distinct,
no. I think he's
but
public
not
domain.
dissimilar too.
I think he's
Oh,
I think he's public domain, which is why this movie exists.
interesting.
Oh no, I did
Is
have it
he
in
is he a
there. We talked about
is he a
that.
sailor in it? Maybe that's how he's connected. He's a sailor.
Yeah, I
Popeye the
guess.
Sailor Man.
With a name like Shiver Me Timbers, yeah, I guess I figure. Yeah, they finished filming Now You See Me 3, which if it's not called Now You Don't, that is my favorite Dan Harmon joke of all time, where he finds out that they made a Now You See Me 2. And he said it was a real missed opportunity to call it Now You Don't. I was like,
it is a missed
right?
opportunity.
Oh, that is funny. That's funny. So James Gunn had some news about DC Batman movie, which he's confirmed is still called Batman: Brave and the Bold. But I'm wondering if it's gonna continue to be a Damian Wayne Batman story, and if it's just gonna morph into kind of something similar to what Superman Legacy is, which is just like he's Batman. He's been Batman for a little bit, but he's like middle of his career Batman, and he just kind of exists, and all of the Bat family's just around kind of movie.
I mean, maybe. But if I had it my way, we would do away with Damian and have it be Tim Allen. Tim Allen? Tim Drake? Tim Drake.
Not Tim Allen. Although that would be funny. As he's running along the too.
Gee whiskers, Batman. Tim Drake, I meant.
Yes, yes. I'm that way. Although
literally any of the other Robins, because Damian is the worst one.
Hey man, I'm okay with Damian, but I will not begrudge you for your dislike. Apparently,
I would even accept if they were like, yeah, this is insert brand new name here and had a completely new Robin. I'd be okay with that too.
I'm willing to accept. In my case, I'm conditional, so I'm willing to accept Damian if I get the other Bat family. If like Tim Drake and like Jason Todd and like Batgirl and Nightwing all show up, I'm gonna be a little more like, you know what? I don't mind him when he's part of the ensemble. I don't I don't want Son of Batman, I guess is my point. Like, I'm not even remotely interested in, to my understanding, Brave and the Bold in the comics is Damian's been around a while and he's a bit more established, because the whole thing with Damian, you wouldn't know this because you hate him, but other people hated him.
He comes from the League of Assassins, which is why he is the way he is.
Yeah, but they've rewritten him like a ton. So like because I don't know if you know this, Jordan, everybody hated him, and so they killed him off.
Because he was the worst.
Yeah, they killed him off, and then they brought him back and rebooted a lot of his worst qualities and made him tolerable. So to my understanding, he kind of basically became a slightly rougher version of Tim Drake.
Interesting.
But
Batman was last week though. That's so in the past.
But yeah, no, I'm not against if we're talking like Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Damian Wayne, like where he's slightly obnoxious but not terrible, I'm okay with that. I'll tolerate that.
Yeah, if he's less like a gigantic dick and more like little brother energy,
yeah,
then I can tolerate that. It's when he's just an absolute like brat,
son of Batman,
that it's like
I hate Son of Batman.
That it's like
Yeah, no, I'm not. I used to hate him on concept. Now I'm like, it depends on the interpretation for me. That's my thing.
I would agree.
Depends on who's writing him. But no,
and who's playing him.
And who's playing. Yeah, absolutely. Will absolutely depend on who's playing him. But I'm willing to put up with him to get Nightwing, because Nightwing is awesome. Also, hashtag Jensen Ackles for Batman. I know we mentioned that last week, but I'm just going to say it every opportunity I get. Hashtag make Jensen Ackles Batman. Jensen Ackles should be Batman. That's gonna be that's gonna be that's the spur of the moment official position. Jordan, you're with me on this, right? We're united front.
Let him give it a shot.
And Jensen Ackles should be Batman. In fact, Justin, in the future, if I can condense this into a short, put the image of Jensen Ackles as Batman. Right here.
And with the word vote for Jensen Ackles for Batman underneath.
To be Batman. He should be Batman. I think that's it for the news, Jordan. It's funny because it always cuts you off. Also, we went slightly over 30 minutes this week, but not 40 minutes. We didn't let it go too long. Jordan, let me ask you a question. Jordan, let's say you had a awards ceremony that was coming up that you were currently deciding nominations for, and you wanted to say that you were maybe the funniest or best or had the best guest podcast of the year. Who would you go to have a trophy for that?
Well, I would go to our link in the description below, which would take me to Trophy Smack, where you can get rings, belts, wrestling belts, trophy toppers with custom engraving,
Ooh.
um,
Oh.
fine wood, plastic. They've got wall art. They've got stuff for losers, and I mean, theoretically, you could buy a custom trophy topper and then have it customly engraved to tell them how much of a loser they really are. If you wanted to do that at trophysmack.com using the link in our description below.
Look at that, and you get such quality trophies as this. I mean, look at that sheen. You can see my ring light just shining right on through there. Look at how shiny that is, and that just sits on my desk. I can just look at how nice quality that is, and you can get that from trophysmack.com using our link in the description below. So please check them out for all your trophy needs.
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it. Do it. No.
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 Anyway.
Everyone has a Schwarzenegger impersonation.
Everyone can break out a hug.
Hello.
I once saw a woman who said that every man has a Christopher Walken impression. They're just waiting to break out. And then I was like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I was momentarily offended until I went, you know what? Yes, it's true. I'm mad about you,
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
I'm Christopher Walken.
And as we all know,
my impersonation is so bad.
Jordan, what's the opposite of Christopher Walken?
Christopher Reeves.
In terrible taste. Anyway, today's episode was very interesting because last week I put Jake on the absolute spot. It was like, Jake, name some movies, and poor Jake went, and he came up with a couple of movies. And so what we did, each of us, is we took the movie that Jake suggested and we shaped a theme around it. So for me, I took All Quiet on the Western Front. And for the first half of the week, I thought All Quiet on the Western Front took place in World War II. So as you started doing stuff about Nazis, and midweek, about Wednesday, I realized that movie was about World War I. So I peppered in some World War I stuff in there. I will say we don't usually do the trigger warnings on the Spur of the Moment podcast, but I got to talk about some unpleasant stuff, especially when it comes to World War I and II. I deal with unpleasant stuff with humor. So you're going to hear me say such jokes as, the only one who ever managed to shoot Hitler was Hitler. He never missed. Such jokes like that. So if you're not comfortable with that, I can't help you. Or you cannot.
There's the door.
There's the electronic door. Please don't leave. I will make this as pleasant as possible. Please, I'm on my hands and knees. And Jordan watched the movie Cinderella Man. And he initially
suggested the movie Cinderella Man, and originally I was going to watch a bunch of boxing movies, but then I went to go on Crave and pop on Rocky, one of the most iconic boxing movies of all time. And as I didn't feel like learning an entire second language, I decided
French! Sorry.
I decided to pivot and just watch a bunch of Russell Crowe movies.
It turned into Pick an Actor, English. But it's not Pick an Actor. Because we're not going to be talking about Russell Crowe. We're just going to talk about the movies individually.
Exactly.
It's not Pick an Actor for... Jordan didn't all of a sudden change that they didn't become Pick an Actor for... The show is a series of constructed...
Okay. All right, I see how it is. So, yeah, Jordan just was like, I'm going to watch a bunch of Russell Crowe movies. That was the theme for Jordan. That Jake chose was Russell Crowe.
Jordan wound up with Russell Crowe.
Who happened to be in a boxing movie.
He happened to be in a... Yeah, initially you said about boxing movies, and you were just like, it's just gonna turn into all Rocky movies, wasn't it? And you were like, and they were in French.
Yeah.
Fucking Crave.
So we pivoted. So now with that being said...
Crave, you know what? No, I'm doing it, Jordan. I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing a rant. Crave. Label your movies that are in French. I understand that Quebec has a specific licensing requirement for French. I understand they have to have a certain level of French programming. Okay, I fully understand that. I'm not asking for much. Maybe have a little bit more than a couple of letters on the under the film that say it's in French. Like maybe be like Rocky bracket or open parentheses French close parentheses. So then I wouldn't waste my time watching it on your service. Thank you, Crave. That's it. I'm done. For the Spotify listeners, Jordan just did a big clap that nobody can hear. Nope, still can't. You can kind of hear it. You have to do it like way over there. Nope, still not getting it. Anyway. Let's begin the rapid fire, Jordan. What's your first Rusty Crowe movie?
My first Rusty Crowe movie is actually a Tom Cruise movie that Rusty Crowe is just in. It's called The Mummy. It's the 2017 version. I understand that people hate this, and I don't understand why. I don't really think it's that bad.
It's funny because you were one of the people who hated it. Like we hated this movie. Oh, absolutely. I will never forget driving home miserable.
Did I hate it, or was it late at night and we thought it was boring and regretted staying to watch it?
I think we fell asleep through most of it. I think is what ended up happening. I think it was one of those occasions where, we had a particularly legal substance in Canada, and we had no longer been under the influence of it coming home. That makes any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Those who know.
Yeah. Those who know know.
But we didn't actually do any of that because we can't. We even now when it is allowed, that wasn't.
No. Yeah, no. It wasn't. No, that wasn't. No. To be clear, when we did the actual driving, there was some sobriety. It was only when we were at the theater for like 4 hours. So cut us some slack.
Anyway. Yeah, no. This time around, maybe it's just because I've watched so many other bad movies. But I found it interesting that this movie, which is called The Mummy, wasn't in Egypt.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a unique take on it.
It's also not an adaptation of The Mummy, to be fair. It's a new story. Because the whole he fights Emotep thing? Like, okay, the Brendan Fraser movie, that is a remake of the original Mummy movie. This isn't. This is different. So the Mummy in this isn't Emotep. It's a new woman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, similar plot either way.
Similar, but
awaken an undead chick who tries to suck the life out of people.
Minus the Tim Cruise. Tim Cruise gets mummy powers at the end. Minus that bit.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
That's what I said. Tim Cruise. You know what you do.
Russell Crowe is also the he's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, which I thought was an interesting touch.
He doesn't look any different. He just looks slightly. He doesn't look any different, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think he like stops hunching and he stands a little taller, but that's about it.
Yeah. This was gonna lead into the big
and when he's not Mr. Hyde or Dr. Jekyll, when he's the bad one, he stops wearing his glasses.
Right. But yeah, they were going to do a whole universe. Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man. There's that. You can look it up. In fact, you can do it right now. I'm pretty sure the Dark Universe, where it was like, I think it was, Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man. I think Javier Bardem was going to be the creature from the Black Lagoon.
The Universal Epic Universe.
Dark Universe. The Dark Universe.
Universal Monsters film theories or film series.
Yeah. You want the I think it's called it's called look up the Dark Universe cast photo. And it should be like you should see like Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, Angelina Jolie. I believe it was Javier Bardem. Hold on.
Sorry, what am I looking up?
Dark
Universe
cast photo. Well, I'm going to do it simultaneously so then I know you're looking at the right photo. Riveting television now. Hold on. I suppose I could be doing this on the computer so people can see what I was doing. Yeah, so it's literally like the first image where it's like Russell Crowe, Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp. That's what it was. It was Sofia Vergara and Javier Bardem.
Yeah, I see him. I have
They
it.
weren't even in the same room.
Weren't they?
They
That's
weren't
funny.
even in the same room. But yeah, they thought that was gonna happen. It never did. It did not happen.
Well, that's when everyone and their mother had to have a cinematic universe.
Pretty much, whether or not they needed it or not. I don't
Um,
remember enough about this movie to have strong feelings about it. I remember not liking it. That's about it.
yeah, I mean, this time around, it was fine. It was fun. It's an action movie. It's not rewriting the wheel or anything, but it certainly up. Here's what I'll say: of the movies I watched this week, it was one of the ones I enjoyed the most because it wasn't just another drama.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's
Fair
really all I
enough.
have to say. All
All
I have to
right.
say about that one.
So for me, initially, yeah, I went the routes of let's make the Germans in World War II fun. So I tried to find fun movies about that topic. So my first one was the film Inglorious Bastards. The
I've heard. I've heard of that. I know that movie.
Tarantino, yeah, it's his World War II alternate history movie, which Jake didn't like. He didn't like that movie. He doesn't like revisionist history films. And I'm like, I get it. And like, I'll never forget. I took a lot of shit back in the day for saying I didn't like this movie because I like it, and the fact that it is in a foreign language and is subtitled for most of it doesn't bother me now. But the first trailer for this movie was the trailer where it's um Brad Pitt being like, "We gonna be going around killing Nazis. And Nazi don't got no humanity." So I went into this the first time watching, expecting it to be
Thinking
this
it was
like,
going to be like an action film.
yeah, a bloody movie of them killing Nazis, and it wasn't that. It's a much more slow movie about basically uh there's a French Jew who runs into this sniper who is a famous guy, and they're gonna bring the movie to this theater. And it's basically about them infiltrating this theater, and a lot of background on the back. There's a section of it where it does become um, Brad Pitt and the bastards like killing Nazis, and those are my favorite parts of the movie. For me, this movie gets really boring in the middle when it has to get to the point where they're at the theater, and it's this really boring French foreign film where it's this pseudo love story where she's pretending to like him even though she doesn't because he's a Nazi. Um, and it just becomes really dull. But when it's Brad Pitt, it's super fun. He's a super engaging character. His accent's really stupid. The way he speaks is very funny. Lieutenant Aldo Rain, it's very funny. There's weird Mike Myers shows up in the weirdest cameos. But the thing I kind of realized, and every time I watch a thing about either of the world wars, one or two, um, war really is just kind of about perspective. Because like when there's a scene in this movie where Brad Pitt and the bastards have the German soldiers tied up, and they're effectively killing them for information or whatever. And these guys are like terrified. They're like tied up and terrified. And like from their perspective, these are the bad guys. And you're like, yeah, it's about which scenario you're in. They're just guys who showed up to work, right? And here they are being tied up and like scalped and tortured and whatever. And I'm like, it really is all about like where you are
I
in the
mean,
dynamic.
yeah, there is that infamous line of history is written by the victor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's gonna be kind of a theme for me today, where it's gonna be like, yeah, it's sort of, especially when we get to the thing that set this off, All Quiet on the Western Front. I quite like that story. But yeah, that's sort of it. It's really Tarantino, so it's really long. Christoph Waltz, he's so good in this movie. I believe he won the Oscar for it. It's well deserved. He's so charismatic and like in a
Oh,
twisted kind of way.
he's the Nazi dude, right?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, yeah,
bingo. Yeah, he's super
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That opening
I
sequence where he's
remember.
interrogating him is fucking tense as shit. He's really good. Yeah, he's really good. And just how we're gonna talk about. I don't know what Paul will talk about the banality of evil, but just the idea that yeah, he's just a guy doing his job and who enjoys his job, and his job just happens to be doing this horrific stuff. I will do my best not to mention the horrific stuff, but he does this horrific stuff, and yeah, he's just so gleeful and nefarious, and I ultimately love how he thinks he's won, and you think that he's won, and then he winds up getting the symbol carved into his head. But yeah, I it's really funny. I never used to like this movie, but I really quite enjoyed it this time. I think I'm really developing an affinity for Tarantino. Also, I would say this is the least Tarantino movie. There's a lot of really good. They go on for a hair too long scenes of just like tense people, like you're unsure who knows what kind of moments that are really good. Like this. Have you seen it? Have you seen this? I mean, I should have asked. Have you seen this?
Inglorious, you bastards! I have once a while ago.
Yeah, one of the best scenes is the one where they're in the bar, and it reminds me a lot of it, and it reminds me a lot of the Gimp scene from Pulp Fiction, where it's a really long scene where it just keeps escalating. It starts off with it's the guy who's they're meeting Michael Fassbender, who is a like film critic, in this bar. And it's just slow. The plan's slowly falling apart, and they just can't maintain their cover. And like you think that this cover is gonna get blown at any moment, and you finally think that they've got it. And the only reason why they don't is just because he does this instead of this. It's like, oh, German, you would do 3, but he did this, so that's what gave him away. And I was like, just that little thing. I was like, oh, it seems really good. I quite liked it. I enjoyed this movie so much more this time than I did the first time I watched it back in 2008, I think is when it came out. 2009. That's it. That's Inglourious Basterds. Next Rusty Crowe movie.
So the next Rusty Crowe movie is very much a Rusty Crowe. Why do we keep calling him Rusty Crowe? Russell Crowe movie.
Because I took that from the Weekly Planet. They did a trilogy of Caravan of Garbages they called the Rusty Crowe trilogy, which is funny enough. Yeah, it was that's the reason why I suggested Master and Commander, because I didn't actually watch their video, but they did Master and Commander, Noah, and Gladiator, and you did 2 out of the 3. I'm almost tempted to like send you the videos just to see if you agree with them. In fact, I probably will do that.
This one is called Poker Face. It came out in 2022. It's an Australian American thriller film, and it was written by, directed by, and stars Russell Crowe.
Oh God! There's a vanity project,
and it also co-stars Liam Hemsworth and RZA.
RZA.
But Liam Hemsworth, if I remember correctly, in this, he is supposed to be Australian, so he gets to just have his normal voice.
I was just gonna say Liam Hemsworth is Australian.
I know. So my point was more just like he gets to not have to do an American accent.
Pretty sure.
I think Russell Crowe is
also Australian.
I believe so.
Yeah, pretty sure he's also Australian.
But this movie was interesting. So basically, Russell Crowe is like a billionaire, like he owns a tech company or whatever. And through the course of the movie, spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil the shit out of this movie. Through the course of the movie, you find out that he's dying. And so he's brought all of his childhood friends together, because I guess they come together once a year or something like that. And he's brought them together to do a poker night because they like played poker a lot as kids. And he wants his friends to like reveal their secrets and stuff. And then at one point, this art criminal, who I guess is the sibling of one of his childhood friends, comes to rob his home. And then there's the whole, they have to manage to deal with him. And it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's a little slow, and there's definitely like a build up. But of the ones that I watched this week, it's probably one of the ones I enjoyed more. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Is
that it?
Russell Crowe is kind of not really acting in it, in my opinion. He just kind of feels like Russell Crowe.
I mean, he wrote, directed, and stars in it. Why would he do anything else?
Honestly, the one who felt like the weirdest to me, because he's so different than from what I know him in, was Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah, fair enough.
It really felt like he was getting to kind of do more than just a big punch.
I mean, to be fair, I don't really know Liam Hemsworth from Hunger Games. That's kind of it. So yeah, I mean, I
and
think
and 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 Thor.
that's Chris Hemsworth. Do you mean Chris Hemsworth?
I mean, the wiki says Liam, but I thought it was Chris.
Yeah,
Maybe I
no,
didn't realize that he had a brother.
yeah, no. Liam Hemsworth is Chris Hemsworth's brother.
Huh. That would explain why he felt so different. Okay, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he looks very similar to his brother. Then
He does, yeah, yeah, he does. They do look very similar.
interesting.
Is that it?
That is it.
So, when I was thinking of stuff where, hey, let's fight some Nazis, but it's fun. I obviously the first thing that popped into my brain was Captain America. But I was like, I don't really want to watch the MCU Captain America for like the 50th time. So I'm like, you know what? Let's watch the 1990s Captain America. And boy, howdy, that movie's a lot better than you're expecting. I'm gonna be completely honest. It was quite good. It's goofy and it's corny and it's like 1990s superhero affair, but it is remarkably violent. The Red Skull is legitimately upsetting. Like his face is like looks like deformed and like half melted, and he's not German in this one though. He is Italian, and he's not Johann Schmidt. He's a different guy. But
Interesting.
and this one very much does that. He gets, which I'm guessing was a fairly recent thing, but they do the Captain America gets frozen and gets defrosted. But this one's like the plot of it is that when he gets frozen, he gets spotted or he gets seen by this kid who grows up to become the president, and the Red Skull has been around like the entire time, like causing all of the major world events to happen. So like World War or the all of them. I can't remember the list I get, but all of these world events to happen, and they eventually cut back to him, and they like he's had plastic surgery, so he's nearly unrecognizable, and they cut to him, and he still has the same face shape, so he still has the Red Skull face, but it's now regular person color, skin color, but he still looks deformed and awful, and you're like, he doesn't. I don't. They butchered his plastic surgery, man. I don't know what to tell you. They did not do a good job. It looks bad. But it's a surprisingly violent movie, though. Like the first time Captain America he becomes Captain. Oh, and in this I should say Captain America. He's not like tiny. He generally stays the same size, except for when he first appears. He's got a limp. He's going to war with a limp for some reason. It's never really explained why.
I don't think they would let him.
Right? He's got a pretty serious.
Like the army tends to not accept you if you have like flat foot, let alone a limp.
But he ends up going through this procedure, which is done by this Italian lady, and right as he becomes Captain America, it does the same thing as in the MCU movie, where it's the random Nazi guy who's like, "I'm a Nazi guy." So I'm guessing that's just a blanket part of his backstory, and he gets shot like 5 times, point blank. And it's bloody. Like, this movie is surprisingly bloody.
When did this come out?
1990.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, I would say it's probably PG-13, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was rated R. But yeah, he gets shot 5 times, and I'm like, wait, Captain America can just get shot 5 times?
I mean, yeah, he's Captain America. He's got American powers.
I guess I'm willing to. And then the next scene is like, no, he's dying. No, he can't just survive getting shot 5 times without like going to the hospital. That's not how this works. He's not Superman. But
no, it was Captain America.
It was a lot better. It was legit a lot better than I was expecting. I was like, you know what? Everyone paints this movie as being bad. Also, you know the joke. How does Captain America know how to steal a car from Winter Soldier?
How does he?
No, that's not me setting up a joke. That's the line from Winter Soldier where Black Widow's like, where did Captain America learn how to steal a car? That's in reference to this movie where Captain America steals a car.
Oh, I thought you were setting me up for a punchline.
I was not.
How does Captain America know how to steal a car? I don't know. How does Captain America know how to steal a car?
With one pant leg at a time.
Da 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 da.
With his American flag. America. That's it. That's Captain America 1990.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, it's at this point that I have to ask: are you not entertained?
Those in
Because I
between.
watched because I watched Gladiator.
Gladiator. I remember this movie being pretty good.
It was pretty okay once he becomes a gladiator.
Yeah, the Gladiator
All the
part's pretty
parts,
sick.
all the parts before he was a gladiator are kind of really boring, but once he becomes a gladiator, then
Once he starts
then
doing a
it becomes
Gladiator,
then it becomes entertaining. Then I was entertained.
when he starts to do a Gladiator, that was when I became entertained. I was entertained,
Ex-
Russell Crowe.
exactly.
He asked me.
Exactly.
He said, "Are you not
Um,
entertained?" And I was.
at that point, I had become entertained.
I had become entertained.
But yeah, this one's about Rome, and he was a general, but then he became a gladiator, and then the son murdered the former emperor, and then also I kind of learned I didn't real so Julius Caesar's a title
I believe so.
because in this one, once like the dad was Caesar, and then once he kills the dad to become the emperor, he becomes Caesar.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess Caesar is a title.
I guess that's the name for the.
Julius Caesar
I guess
is the name for the emperor.
Caesar, I think, because I know that after Julius there was Octo something.
Yeah, something Caesar, which
Augustus. Augustus, I believe, is what it is.
yeah. So I'm guessing Caesar is their word for emperor.
I'm guessing.
But yeah, there's the son who murders the dad and takes over, and also apparently this movie, from what I've heard, this movie really softens like how terrible the son was. Um, apparently the son was really, really, really bad.
I mean,
Because these are
yes,
the characters in this movie are based on real people, as I understand it.
that makes sense.
I don't know how accurate it is,
Fun fact: a lot
obviously,
of the people in my movies are also based on real people.
but Russell Crowe, this was definitely one of his stronger works.
Yeah, I
Like,
remember liking that movie, being like, "This is a pretty good movie."
yeah. One thing that I kind of discovered this week is that his movies are very hit or miss for me.
Also, it's funny. A lot of the movies you picked are also Ridley Scott movies. I'm pretty sure this is a Ridley Scott movie.
This is a Ridley Scott, but I don't know if any of the other ones were.
Pretty sure Robin Hood is.
But that's all I have to say about the Gladiator. There's a second one, which is, I guess, about his
Oh yeah,
his nephew, or it's his son, and then now he's also going to be a
dang it!
gladiator.
I didn't hashtag this Gladiator 2. I should have. That would have been good SEO. Good SEO, everybody. Good SEO. Good SEO. Jordan, good SEO.
But
good SEO, Jordan.
good
SEO.
Good SEO. Good SEO. SEO Atariori.
SEO Atariori.
That's really all I have to say about this.
So my next one. So I watched some movies in German this week, Jordan. Two movies specifically, but I watched a movie by the name of everyone knows. You know this movie. You just don't know that you know it. It's a movie called Downfall, which is about the fall of Berlin, the end of World War II, and the death of Adolf Hitler and the subsequent fallout from that. And everyone knows this movie because of one reason, Jordan. Why do people know this movie?
Well, there's that one scene where it's Hitler and he's talking about something and people memed the shit out of it.
The memes.
There's the famous one that I remember where it was him talking about the Dragon Ball Evolution and how terrible it is.
Yeah, that was a good one. There's so many good ones.
That's the one that I immediately think of when I think of that meme.
So when I was like, make Hitler fun, I was like, that made Hitler fun. But I don't like the term make Hitler fun. But no, this movie's it's very interesting because I watched a really good video this week. I've just realized something, Jordan.
What did you realize?
That's okay. We'll do it after this. I watched a really good
video.
video.
Have you not been timing?
No. I realized I missed a movie.
Oh.
I watched a really good video this week about the ethics of satirizing Nazis. And about how can you do that if you turn um if you make light of Hitler, you turn him into a joke, you take away his power. You don't want to. We don't want to. But I sort of kind of disagree with that notion. I think it's important that we do see these beings as human, because if we don't, then that makes it too easy to become them. To remove them from,
Yeah.
to say Hitler was this monster who had no humanity. No, he was still very much a guy. And like there's this really good story about Nuremberg. I'm gonna fuck up the details of this, but during the Nuremberg trials, this guy, Jewish reporter, went to watch one of the head guys get prosecuted, or whatever, and he was taken aback by how much he was just like a regular guy, which just kind of drove the point home that like we don't like you can't act like you wouldn't necessarily do this. You don't know. You're not in it. Um,
So here's my perspective. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who talks about movies and like get stuff on the internet. I'm not some like psychologist who's capable of knowing the fine details of everyone's thoughts. But I think it's important that we both look at where a person like where for to go back to Hitler, where he like ended up and what kind of got him there.
yeah, exactly.
So
Context
you
is
can't just
important.
yeah, like you can't just look at the end result and be like, yeah, that's all he was, because no, he had to he people had to like him enough and see him as a person enough to
Yeah,
be willing to let him get to that point. And if we don't acknowledge that that's a thing that very easily can happen,
yeah.
then well, I mean, you know what the old phrase is, if you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it.
And so,
So you can't just put him like put any evil person from the past up on this pedestal of well, they were just always evil. And you have to ask what led them to that point.
yeah,
How did they get there?
this movie is interesting because it very much paints these people as people who were so in it that they didn't realize it was that, like it's just scenes of like people standing in a room being like, shit, are we the bad guys? It kind of feels like we're the bad guys, or standing in a room being like, we're done. This is it. It's game over, man. Or characters being like, sort of seems like Hitler's going crazy. You guys notice how it seems like Hitler's gone a little crazy? It sure seems like he's maybe gone a little crazy. What do we do about that? And then there's other people who are like, we're not gonna do a damn thing about that. Like there are some scenes in this movie which I won't describe, which are fairly unpleasant. They're fairly unpleasant, but yeah, it just kind of made me realize of like it's so hard to see a thing when you're in it. And I became so fascinated by the German perspective. Like, because this was, I think, an Italian German co-production. Um, and while, yeah, I do understand the notion of, yeah, you don't want to make people sympathize with him, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, I do think it's important to be like, no, he was a guy who had lost his mind. Like that, I think that's kind of an important thing to, in my
Yeah,
opinion, to
and,
keep in
and I,
mind.
I I
Not
I
to
think
not to
that it definitely
we're not here to excuse anything in any sense. He was a monster.
it
He did, but
definitely it
like,
definitely framing matters, and how a person frames a thing like this is very important because and I might be remembering it wrong, but this like I think if you can do it clinically,
yeah,
then that's kind of the goal. Whereas wasn't there one that was on Netflix which was about Dahmer, which like
yeah,
glorified him and made
yeah,
him like into a hero. That's where I think you walk a fine line
yeah,
of you
very
don't want to
much.
do that. You don't want to do that, but you want to show that like the you don't want to make him into like a Lex Luthor supervillain, but you don't want to make him into, oh well, he actually wasn't such a bad guy and maybe we should feel bad for him and he was
Right.
like you walk this fine line of like what actually happened.
Like to me, you inadvertently. I understand. Like but like it kind of, yeah, you're right. It kind of. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. You take away the power of what he did by reducing him to a mid-credit character. We're gonna get to Kingsman, but by being like he walks in midway through the credits and hey, he's like the what's his face?
Thanos.
Not that. Yeah, he's like the Thanos or the Nick Fury where he walks in, he's setting up the next one. Like that reduces what he actually was, and it reduces the impact on the German people, which it turns out is a lot.
Like I think kind of the issue with what's been done with and this is I'm gonna say this sounds weird, but stay with me. What's been done with Hitler since World War II is he's kind of become a cartoon character.
Yes,
He's
yes,
become like the Coca-Cola version of Santa Claus. Like he's not people don't see him as the person he was anymore. They see him as the cartoon character that showed up in Donald Duck's cartoons when when it's like
I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
where it's like we forget that he was a person who had very human thoughts and very human ways of looking at things, which people can fall into that trap today.
Yeah,
they can go down that same road, and so
that argument of
that's where
this guy's not evil. But he does evil things. I'm not saying Hitler. I'm not. He did it. He was evil. He was an evil man.
Oh, he did a monster. He did a demonstrably evil act. He was very evil.
Don't want it interpreted that I'm trying to say that Hitler was a good guy.
But he wasn't a cartoon character.
No, he wasn't. No.
And I'm gonna get full modern times on this. Funny enough, I feel like 30, 40 years from now, Donald Trump will have been cartoonified as well in the same way.
I think he already has been. I think he already.
I think the argument could absolutely be made that he already has been. But I definitely think 10, 20 years from now, he will be the character that like Donald Duck is fighting against.
I mean, that I can't say, but
whatever the future version of that is, you get what I mean.
But yes, it's a very good movie. It's a very powerful movie. If you get squeamish about bad shit happening to kids, I cannot recommend it to you because some bad shit happens to some kids, man. It is a truly very long and unpleasant scene. It goes on for a very long time, and it's awful. But it is otherwise a pretty good movie if you can stand reading German, watching shit in German. It's also on Tubi for free.
That's
it. That's
downfall. So my next one is it's a 2023 supernatural horror film called The Pope's Exorcist.
The Pope is the Exorcist.
Interesting. So apparently it's based on a 1990 book, An Exorcist Tells His Story, and the 1992 book, An Exorcist, More Stories, by Father Gabriel Amorth, which I believe is the character that, that's the character that Russell Crowe is playing in this.
You know what? Dropping that.
And so what's funny is in the book, in the movie, there's one character who is like, "Oh, you know, I've heard of you," and Russell Crowe's character is like, "Oh, have you read my books?" And he's like, "No, haven't read them yet." And the joke comes back a couple times where he's like, "They're good books, like they're good books," which then makes it funny that this entire movie is based off of those books.
That's funny.
I mean, it's your classic Exorcist style movie where demon shows up, demon possesses family calls in person to exorcise.
You're gonna call Russell Crowe.
Demon, and in this instance, it's the Pope's personal exorcist, which is Russell Crowe's character. Right. Which, I guess was based off of a real person.
Okay.
I guess. I guess the character is based off of
a true story.
Because like at the end of it, they do that thing where they have the text over where they're talking about the character and stuff, and so I guess. And then at the end of the movie, basically, they end up exorcising the demon. And they set up for a sequel where him and this other character are
set up for a sequel.
And they're gonna go and hunt more demons and stuff, and It's fine. I mean, it's pretty paint by numbers.
It's fine.
Um, Although it's funny because in it, Russell Crowe's character is Italian, and so like there's this one part where
They're like bibbity boobity bibbity.
the the bishops and stuff are doing an interview about this one exorcist that he did, and they're like, this interview is going to be conducted in English, and he keeps talking in Italian, and they're like like in English, please, and then he starts talking in English, but just the how upset they get was kind of amusing to me. But I can't tell if, I mean, I'm assuming Russell Crowe doesn't know Italian, but uh, I could believe that he was speaking it. It's a believable enough performance.
All right.
Um,
All right.
but yeah, no, this one, if, again, funny enough, of the ones I watched, wasn't the worst.
All right.
Wasn't my least favorite.
All right. All right. I respect that. Respect your choice. What's next?
That's probably the next one.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
So, okay, my next one. Yeah, it's a movie called The Producers, but not the original Producers, the musical The Producers, which is based on a 1960s Mel Brooks movie called The Producers, which has oh, I promised myself I wasn't going to forget his name. Willy Wonka. The actor who plays Willy Wonka, original Willy Wonka. Gene
Oh, Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder is in it, and it's about this Broadway producer who determines, thanks to his accountant, played by in the musical Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, they determine that due to a loophole, that if they create and this is my main problem with this movie, I don't understand how this works, but they determine that if their play flops, they can count it as a write-off and get a bunch of money from it. I don't fully understand how. And they pick the absolute worst play they can find, a musical called Springtime for Hitler. An absolute like romp dedicated to how much they love Hitler. And they find the worst possible director they can think of, what's the word I'm looking for? Flagrantly, very gay man, effeminately gay man to direct it.
Flagrantly.
Yeah, and they expect that flagrantly. I don't know if that's the right word.
Flagrantly.
This very gay man to direct it, and it becomes this real gay Hitler spectacle. And they expect that everyone will walk out during like the first act, and they'll lose all this money, and they'll get to keep the initial investment of $2 million, and it's like an IRS loophole. And my whole thing is like, I don't understand how this is working. I don't understand this. Like, I don't understand how this scheme is working. I don't understand the rules. And it's one of those movies where maybe if I were more familiar about producing Broadway plays, this would be funnier to me. But just a lot of it just wasn't really working for me. Some of it was funny. Like, there's this really weird moment. I mentioned it to you where there's this really long, how Nathan Lane's character makes money for these plays is by sleeping with old women. And so there's this really long song dedicated to him banging a bunch of old ladies for money. And
I feel like this has been parodied in other things like The Big Bang Theory when they want Leonard to sleep with the old lady to get the college grad.
I'm sure it has been. But it's just like, it's a very weird song for me. And I recognize it's probably just me, but like, I'm like, Nathan Lane is like famously very gay. It's just very weird for him to be like, I'm super heterosexual. It was just very weird. And it's just a very weird number generally. Yeah, it didn't really altogether on the whole work for me. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? I have another note. Oh, John Barrowman shows up as a Nazi. It's a dancing Nazi. It was very strange. But yeah, this is a movie where the notion of the ethics of parroting Nazis, is it ethical or not? And the answer is just simply, it depends. We don't know for
Yeah,
sure.
I would say it depends.
It depends. Depends on what you're doing. That's it. That's The Producers.
Like if you're trying to make them silly to take away their recruitment power, and you're trying to make it so that they are, perceived as weaker, and thus people want to join them less, then that's one thing. But if it's making people underestimate them so they can then get away with more,
Exactly.
then that's where you walk a fine line.
Very
My
fine line.
next and last rapid fire is called Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. It's a 2003 American epic period war drama film, which is set during the Napoleonic Wars.
Sorry, which one?
And
Which one was
it
this? Sorry. Oh, Master and Commander. Master and Commander.
Master and Commander, the
Rusty
far
Crow.
side. Master and Commander, the far side of the world.
Rusty Crow in a boat.
It is boring. It is a drama, and it feels like a drama because it is boring. Basically, as I understand it, I have to fully admit, it did not pass the phone test. Justin, do you want to refresh the audience what the phone test is?
If you find your mind wandering to Facebook or Instagram,
And you look at your phone.
and you look at your phone, well, how else would you find your mind wandering to Facebook or Instagram if not to look at your phone?
You could be on a computer.
Touche. You look at your phone during the movie because the movie's just that boring.
And so there was a number of times where I not only did I my mind wander to Facebook or Instagram, but I found myself scrolling on TikTok and having to be like, wait, I'm supposed to be watching this movie. Put the phone down. So I guess it's got Paul Bettany is in it as well. And he's like the best friend slash scientist or something, and he wants to go and study these animals and stuff, but Russell Crowe is all like, no, there's this ship that we're hunting, it's the Napoleonic War, and we have to stop it, and we have to, and so he's trying to go after that, and there's this, I don't know,
I don't know, man.
it's just like 2.5 hours of them on a boat. And it's weird to me because it's like I know that it's during the Napoleonic time, so it shouldn't be surprising to see like 13, 12-year-olds on this ship as like deckhands and lieutenants and stuff, but it's weird
Fair
because
enough.
there are. And I'm like, child soldiers, that's not okay. But that's my modern sensibilities.
It's a hashtag modern sensibilities.
I definitely think of the ones I watched this week, it's my least favorite.
It's fair. It's fair.
But to be fair, I'm not saying it's a bad movie because by all accounts, it might be a really good one. It's just a bad movie for me.
Yeah. I had that happen to me this week. I've got 2 more, by the way. I'll do them quick.
Two more rapid fires?
I do.
You did 7 rapid fires?
Apparently.
God damn, man.
Apparently, I got 1, 2,
We have a
3,
rule.
4,
We
5,
do
6,
5
7, yeah.
rapid fires.
7.
Jeez.
Um.
Okay, well then you do your last 2 because I don't have anything else to say about this movie about Russell Crowe on a boat for 2.5 hours.
It's okay because I don't have much to say about the well. The next one I do. Next one is the Tom Cruise movie Valkyrie, and it's about Tom Cruise is a
Valkyrie.
soldier. He gets bombed and he gets shot by a plane, and basically he's become disillusioned with the Nazi people, and he, amongst other people, decide to enact Project Valkyrie or whatever, which basically would allow them to take over the German government. It is a real thing that happened. It's based on a real story. The Germans don't like this movie because they don't like the fact that Tom Cruise is playing him, because they think that Scientology is a dangerous death cult. And the thing that's interesting about this movie is that there's a lot of stuff that they cut out of it because they thought it would be that it would seem like it was like part of Tom Cruise's ego. It would be unbelievable because it's Tom Cruise. So like, he apparently, when he got shot, he got hit by a plane, like his hand blown off, and like part of his face blown off or something. And he refused morphine. He wanted to do it without any pain meds. They didn't want to give that to Tom Cruise because it would seem too unbelievable. So he was too much. This guy was too much of a badass. And it's a really depressing movie because they all seem so sure. There's a moment where Tom Cruise thinks that this has gone off, and it turns out that it doesn't, and the plan just starts falling apart, and it ends with all of the people involved in it being slowly executed. And it's just like this really depressing movie because you know their plan's not gonna work. You know it's all gonna fail. You know Hitler will live. You know the rest of the World War II has to happen. But yeah, it's just another case of like people who are in it having this moment. It's a movie of people being like, "Shit, are we the bad guys?
Are we the
But
villains?"
the funniest part about it is the opening sequence where Tom Cruise tries to speak German, and he's speaking with the thickest American accent I have ever heard, which they I guess at some point realized was a problem because the movie does a thing where it transitions into him speaking English, making it clear that he's speaking German, but we the audience are hearing English. But the rest of the cast is like the most British actors on the planet. Like one of them is like Bill Nye. I can't think of them all off the top of my head right now.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
No, Bill Nye. You know the in Doctor
Bill,
Who.
Bill, 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 Bill.
Technically, he was Davy Jones, but you know in Doctor Who, you know the episode with Van Gogh.
Oh yeah,
that guy Van Gogh, not Van Gogh, but the guy who plays the curator.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
I would have also taken the guy from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Barthy Sloughu or whatever.
Oh yeah. Hold on, I'm actually gonna pull it up because it was.
I'm pretty sure that's the same guy.
It's very funny how many of these people.
Barty Slotfast.
That's him. So you've got Kenneth Branagh who he did Hamlet. You got Bill Nye, Eddie Izzard, who is for the benefit of Mr. Kite from Across the Universe, Terrence Stamp, who is pretty sure he's the Yes guy from Yes Man. Like just the most British people on the planet playing German people. Like none of these people are German. Not one. And then you've got American Tom Cruise playing like what is essentially a German hero. And like none of these people are German. None of these people are German. It's a pretty fun movie. It's directed by Bryan Singer. It's just a weird like trying to like sugar gloss a historical event kind of movies. And then my last two, I'm gonna lump them together because you said this about the Terrifier movies, and you're gonna find this. You're gonna stick with me, because these movies are incredibly well made. I understand the craft that is involved in them. I understand how much work goes into them. I understand that they are very well made movies. They do nothing for me, and that's Dunkirk and 1917, which are just two kind of war movies about a group of soldiers, just going through it. And these ones Dunkirk takes place during World War II. It's about the invasion of Dunkirk. It's Christopher Nolan, and the story did nothing for me. It didn't really do anything for me, which is really contrary to most Christopher Nolan movies. This might be the movie of his I like the least because the story didn't do anything for me. But it's a Christopher Nolan movie, so it is a technical masterpiece. Like there's so many like plane shots there's so many scenes that are shot practically. Like you could tell there's very minimal CGI, and it just looks beautiful. The acting's really good. The acting in all of these movies is standout. The acting is really good, and it's a very well made movie. Like I appreciate it for so much good cinematography that just looks phenomenal. Just a genuinely good movie that it didn't really do anything for me. And it's the same thing with 1917, which is very briefly about two soldiers who are tasked with basically going to these generals and telling them to call off this attack because the Germans are planning this trap. And the performances are really good. There's a scene where one of the guys dies in the other guy's arms, and it's like it's really kind of interesting how, at least how it's presented in media, these soldiers get scared and they just want to hold each other. Like that's all they want to do is just hold each other.
Hold me, Earl. Like I think I got been shot in the gut.
Like not even like, and it's like, and I was gonna make this point later, but I guess I'll make it now because this is our first World War I movie. World War I is kind of fascinating to me. It became fascinating to me this week because whereas World War II, there's very much a bad guy. It's Adolf Hitler, it's Mussolini, it's fascism, it's Nazi Germany, it's the Nazis. World War I is a little less clear cut. There aren't any bad guys really. There's just kind of guys fighting on sides. So like we've been so culturally primed to be like the Germans are the bad guys, but like by all appearances, we'll get to it when we get to All Quiet on the Western Front. But fascinatingly, they're the same. They're the same. It's the same.
Well,
Doesn't matter what side they're on.
I feel like that's a case of people retroactively view the Germans as the bad guy because they know that they know that World War I Germans end up becoming World War II Germans, and they've kind of
Yeah, but
conflated
World War I
the two.
Germans were very different in terms of there wasn't. I would argue, and I'm not a historian, so I'm not coming from a place of any like strong knowledge or convictions on this, but it would sort of seem like it was less ideological in World War I and more territorial. But to be fair, when I was trying to read about World War I, turns out I know very little about World War I. But it was a complicated conflict that wasn't like as simple as they're just bad guys. Um,
Simple.
Simple, yeah. Um, and so
Those who can't see on Spotify, I did air quotes.
but there's a lot of interesting moments in this where it's just like the Germans are just as scared as the Englishmen, and like when they die, they don't want to do this, and it's like a lot of like death on the whims of like men who don't do anything. It's very very like
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be fair, to put it into a very blunt metaphor, the feet don't know what the brain is thinking.
right. And it's very good. There's a lot again directed by Sam Mendes. There's one shot in particular was like an aerial shot that was like took my breath away. I was like, oh my god, that's a gorgeous fucking shot. But you know me, I love just gorgeous cinematography. It's a lot of gorgeous cinematography. The performances are really good. This one has a happy ending, which is nice. Um, and it's generally a well-made movie. Didn't do a thing for me. It was in fact going to be a hadn't seen, and I had so little to say about it that I moved another movie. I swapped it because I was gonna do my hadn't scenes. We're gonna be entirely World War I devoted, but there's a haven't seen that I like so much that I'm going to full bore recommend, wholeheartedly recommend that I like better. So it got slotted in instead. That's it. That's all my rapid fires.
So it's time for have scenes rather.
It's time for a little have scenes. We're gonna talk about some more
Time
stuff.
time for
Yeah.
da 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 da. Time for have
Have
scenes.
seen.
So my first have scenes is Robin Hood, the 2010 version, which
Robin
I'm just
Hood?
reading about. I'm just reading about it. And development began on the project in January 2007. And apparently, originally, the film was going to focus on a more prominent and sympathetic Sheriff of Nottingham. And Russell Crowe, was going to be the Sheriff of Nottingham.
That makes sense.
Um,
That makes sense.
and then they
That explains that
they
movie.
pivoted. It absolutely does. It absolutely explains why you have this movie about a sheriff of Nottingham who goes through this whole part where he's talking to all the leaders of his area, and he promises he's going to be fair and nice and a good guy, and like he seems like he's learned the lesson, just for them to win the war and him to immediately heel turn and be like, I'm actually still evil, Robin Hood, and we're going to still do the actual way that things go, where I'm going to hunt you till the end of your days.
Yeah, this movie's
Whereas
very like
clearly in the original iteration of the movie, Russell Crowe would have been the actor that plays him. They wouldn't have had that final backstab scene, and he would have sailed off into the distance, being the kind-hearted sheriff of Nottingham.
probably. I mean, this is a movie that tries to be like Robin. This is based on true historical events. Robin Hood was a real guy, which technically some people think that.
It's based on the Robin Hood legend,
Yeah,
is
legend.
what
Yeah,
Wikipedia says.
yeah. There's got elements of
Um,
reality to it.
and it's meh. Honestly, the movie where it doesn't have Robin Hood and it's the Sheriff of Nottingham movie sounds far more interesting because that's not been done 1,000 times.
2 hours of him being like,
Otherwise,
he's not going to become Robin Hood, you guys. Don't, just be prepared. And then at the end, we'll
the
be like, nah, just kidding. He's Robin Hood. We were kidding the whole
and his
time.
merry men.
These are his merry men. Scott Grimes. Alan Doyle of the Great Big Sea. See, I remember the band now. Alan Doyle of the Great Big Sea. I forget his name, but he's good and stuff. And Rusty Crowe.
It stars Russell Crowe, Kate Blanchett, William Hurt, Mark Strong, Mark Addy, Oscar Isaac, Danny Houston.
You don't have to do this.
Eileen Atkins, and Max von Sydow.
Yeah. Who's Little John? What's his name?
Little John.
Pretty sure he's the one I'm thinking of.
Prince John, King Richard. Little John is Kevin Durand.
Kevin Durand, that's what his name is. Yeah, he's quite good. Yeah, the whole bit where he's like,
I'm
Lil.
Scott Grimes is Will Scarlet.
He's Will Scarlet, yeah. Who's famously a redhead.
It's fine. I mean,
I remember it being really
just kind of Robin Hood.
That's what I remember
boring.
about it. I remember it being really dull.
Like all I kept thinking as I was watching this was, man, I should put the Disney one where he's a fox on after. That one's way more fun.
I remember like leaving the theater like midway to go to the bathroom and updating my Facebook. That's how little I liked this movie. Like that's how boring it was. I just remember it being boring. That's like the one thing I remember.
It's definitely one of the not good Russell Crowe ones, in my opinion. I have to say, on the scale of ones that I've watched this week, most of them are kind of either just okay or actively not very good.
It's true.
But that's my first have seen.
So which one do I want to do, Jordan?
Also, Justin, I did tell you beforehand that I'm not super passionate about any of these.
Hey, that's okay. I have another podcast I have to do today, and I would like to eat between them. And we're gonna end up doing probably just around 2 hours and a bit, and I am okay with that. We've been doing
what? You don't want to do another? You don't want to do another 4-hour podcast?
We've been doing a lot of 3-hour ones lately, and it's like, oh my gosh, I like to eat something. I like to be able to go out and get something to eat and not have to eat. Anyway, my first have seen a movie called, which one do I want to do first? Let's do Jojo Rabbit. A movie called Jojo Rabbit. And it was that's where my question of I know I said that the producers, that's where the video I watched was sort of framed around that, but this was the movie that kind of made me go, oh, the ethics of making light of Hitler, because this is a movie is about a young boy named Jojo, who he lives in a Nazi Germany, and he is full bore into Nazis, but not in like an ideological way, in like a
they're hip
fan club kind of way, if that makes any sense. So he's got an imaginary friend who is Adolf Hitler, played by Taika Waititi. This is a Taika Waititi movie. And he goes to what is essentially Nazi summer camp, which was a very real thing. They had Nazi summer camp for little Nazi boys.
That's upsetting.
And he ends up getting injured through it. And he ends up discovering that his mother is keeping a Jew like safe, harboring one in her closet. And he sort of slowly develops a relationship with her over the course of the movie, like a familial relationship. And yeah, it's sort of it's a farcical comedy. So like Rebel Wilson is there as this Nazi nurse. She's very strange. And the one thing I respect about it is everyone, no matter how bad, is doing a German accent. But yeah, there's a funny scene, and it's the one that made me go like the notion of different who cares. Was there's a scene where Stephen Merchant shows up as a Gestapo. That's really funny. Oh, that's what it was. That was the thing I wanted to bring up. I mentioned this when I was shooting. It was a fact I learned from this movie. There's the scene I mentioned where Steve Merchant shows up as the Gestapo, and he out of nowhere, he's like, "You may have heard the rumor that the Fuhrer only has one ball. This is a vicious lie. This is not true. And that, of course, I had to know, Jordan, is that true? And it turns out it's true. Hitler, in fact, did only have one ball. He had an illness where his second testicle did not descend. So he, in fact, only
Okay.
had one ball, which I thought was funny.
Well, alrighty then.
But it made me hate Thor 4 even more because I was
Thor
like,
4 even more.
because he can do drama. He can do drama that's good and compelling and interesting. Like there's a one of the characters in this is JoJo's mother.
I mean, Thor 4 didn't know what it wanted to be. Did it want it to be a silly humor thing? Did it want to have drama?
Right,
it was confused and a mess.
But that's what I'm saying is he can do movies where he can, like, this movie is farcical and there are scenes which are really silly and really funny. But then there's there's Scarlett Johansson, which this is my favorite Scarlett Johansson performance, I think. But she plays his mom, and she's just kind of like sort of like whimsical, kind of whimsical, sort of easygoing kind of woman who is part of the anti-Nazi resistance. Hence the having the little Jewish girl. And she's trying to throughout the movie figure out a way to like deprogram Jojo. She's like, oh, he's like still in there, but he's kind of slowly being overtaken by this Nazi stuff, and I'm trying to work out how to fix him, basically. And yeah, she's really good. And there's a really sad scene where he finds out that she's distributing this anti-Nazi propaganda, and she eventually gets caught. And there's this really, really sad, like heart-wrenching scene where he's like happily walking through the square, and he walks by, and you don't see all of her, you just see her legs, just hanging, swinging, and he runs up and like hugs her legs and like holds on for dear life, and it goes on and it's really sad and it's really emotional.
Oh, that's upsetting.
It's really good. And I'm like, man, he can do and then there's a scene later on. The Gestapo show up, and part of the deception is they convince them that this little Jewish girl is actually his sister. And there's a one of the guys who runs the camp, played by what's his name? Oh my god, I saw it earlier. Doesn't matter. He effectively develops an affinity for Jojo and his mom, and he helps convince the Gestapo that she is his sister. And when it gets to the end, it gets to the point where the Reds are now invading, and they're removing all the Nazis and whatever. And you kind of get to see the entire movie. They've spent all this time denigrating the Jews and talking about the Jews, and you kind of get to see like not what it was like, because I imagine living in regular Germany would have obviously been way different, but a version of what it's like to just find that stuff to be normal, to just have it be normalized. Like that's just a part of life. Being a Nazi, what they believe in, it's just part of being like. There's a really absurd bit where they all walk in and they all go Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, like just for like 5 minutes endlessly, because the presentation of this is so presented as being so ridiculous. And so it's
I mean, the thing is that there's things in modern day times which you could definitely attribute to that too. Not quite to the same degree, obviously. I'm not trying to compare certain things, but like as a Canadian, I would say if I went to America, their obsession with guns, absolutely, to them it seems normalized. To me, as an outsider, it seems very strange. And again, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but there is a comparison that could be made.
It's interesting at the end when it gets turned on its head, and now all the Nazis are being like in handcuffs and they're all being trotted out. And there's another really sad moment where, oh, that's gonna bug me that I can't remember his name. There's a really sad moment where he played Justin Hammer.
From Iron Man?
Yeah.
Hold on,
I'm doing it.
You keep talking.
There's a really sad moment at the end. Sam Rockwell. There's a really sad moment at the end where Sam Rockwell, he's in handcuffs and Jojo is taken out with him. And
Sam Rockwell.
He does a like get out of here, dog. I don't love you anymore kind of moments where he's like, get out of here, you filthy whatever, and he tosses him away. And Jojo has to be watched. Sam Rockwell looks on like he's happy he saved this kid's life, and he has to look as he's taken away, and you just hear in the background like him get shot. And it's a really powerful, sad moment. And the ending is a bit optimistic. Like it's optimistic. Like they wind up going off together to France, and it sort of has kind of a more or less happy ending. But yeah, it was a really impactful movie for me anyway. And I love how it showed he can be funny and goofy and ridiculous. Like there's a lot, or Rebel Wilson has a lot of really absurd lines in the movie that are really funny. But like it also can hit emotion, so it's just really frustrating when it made me dislike Thor 4 even more than I already disliked that movie. But that's it. That's Jojo Rabbit. It's really quite good. It's on Disney Plus. I recommend.
My last have seen is Les Miserables.
Les Miserables.
Which so it's funny because for years, and you and I are guilty of this too, Russell Crowe has caught a lot of shit for his singing in this movie. Bring me to the
time they thought they are forgotten. You know what that means?
But I think there's more than a few characters in
some
this
of it's
which
bad,
I think are misproperly cast. And I love I love oh my god,
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
he is horribly cast.
I don't know why I'm blanking on a very famous actor's name. But yeah, I think he's very poorly cast in this, and I don't think there's a number of songs. Sacha Baron Cohen is also poorly cast.
Amanda Seyfried sounds bad.
And honestly, I find it depends on the song, and it depends on the part in the song. She can be very hit or miss. Honestly, the person who I think is the best cast and is the strongest is Anne Hathaway.
I like her. I also like Eddie Redmayne as I forget.
I find it depends on the song.
I quite like his version of Empty Chairs and Empty Tables. Like it's really good.
Again, yeah. Honestly, like I said, the only one who is really, really strong is Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, she did win the Oscar.
Which she deserves for it. Rest of them, it's kind of just like I feel like they're just here because they're famous.
Oh yeah, it does feel that way.
Like to sell this movie, which, if we're being honest, might not have done well otherwise.
I don't know. I mean, Les Mis is a very popular musical. I think it's less like they wanted, like it was to sell the movie, more just like all these really famous people were like, this is the one that's gonna win us the Oscar. Like this is the one. Like there was a prestige to it that they were like, we want to be involved in this, and they were all famous enough that they could. I think it's probably more what it was.
And I think it was a missed opportunity,
especially because like you got like Hugh Jackman, who's a major, obviously, musical theater person. So like to be in Les Mis would be a huge deal to him.
So, but here's the interesting thing for me, and this is something that I kind of I thought about, because it's like I don't mind him as Jean Valjean. The only reason why I mind him as Jean Valjean, and the only reason why I mind Russell Crowe, and like for all these actors really, is because they don't get the tune right.
No, the rhythm's all off. It sounds
like
bad.
The rhythm is all off, and it sounds bad. And so it's like I have to wonder if Russell Crowe and Hugh Jackman and all of them actually sung the songs like they were supposed to be sung.
Half of
Would I still think that they were miscast?
God, the talk singing. My God, please stop the talk. Stop. Every time they talk sing, like stop it. Stop doing that.
Like,
why are you doing that?
And we'll never have an actual answer to
I know
that,
why
but
they do it.
It's a no. I mean, of what I still think they're miscast.
Oh no, I was gonna say I know why they do the talk singing. It's to turn the songs into dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds bad,
but it makes it disappointing because I like the songs.
Yeah,
and to hear them butchered hurts me.
Yeah, there's a couple of them I don't hate. Like I like Red and Black, and I like
The starting the
opening one I quite like.
uh,
Yeah.
not the opening one, not look down, look down. That one's bad. But the following one after that, about at the end of the day or another day
Oh yeah,
older.
yeah, yeah. I really like the orchestra because it
That
sounds like
one,
you've added way more people into it, which you should.
yeah,
But also
that one
like
sounds good.
but also One Day More is terrible because it all sounds like they're in different locations, and they are, but it just doesn't. That song works on stage because they're all on stage together singing an ensemble song.
Yeah,
This is like they're all in separate
yeah.
locations and they're all being edited together, and it's not edited together well. Like a better version of that cast singing that song is the performance they did at the Oscars, and even then it wasn't that great.
Um, Funny enough, I didn't realize that the musical itself was based on a novel.
Yes, it is a very long novel, an exceptionally long
Eight,
novel.
1862 novel Les Miserables by Victor Hugo.
Yes, it is the guy who did Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Did not know that. I
That's
don't
why
have
we
a
do
lot
this
more to say
show.
about this. It's uh
Ugh.
it's definitely one of the better ones that I watched this week. Um
There.
it was definitely better than Russell Crowe on a boat.
Oh, boat. Oh, boat. He's Russell Crowe on a boat. That wasn't good. That wasn't good. I
So
apologize.
what's your final half scene?
It's a movie called The Kingsman, which this one does. I realized. I was like,
The King's
oh,
Men?
holy shit! Kingsman takes place during World War One. I could do that one. And yeah, it takes place during World War One, where it turns out that all of World War One was set up by an evil, shadowy organization called the Flock, led by a mysterious bad guy called the Shepherd. And it stars Ralph Fiennes as a lord whose wife gets killed, so he won't let his son go be in World War II. But the son really wants to go be in World War II, and it's about the foundation of the Kingsman spy agency. And it's honestly,
World War II. I thought you said World War
sorry,
One.
it's World War One. And it's I like that movie. I will admit it does diverge quite a bit in the middle where it has a really really long sequence of the son dying that goes on for a very long time, and I will concede it is kind of a tonal mess, but it's still Kingsman and it's still Matthew Vaughn, and the action sequences are still fun. There's a really fun fight with Rasputin that's really fun. Um, yeah, the hand to
See,
hand combat stuff is good.
I remember watching that one and just being like, this isn't Kingsman 3. I want Kingsman 3.
I know that's fine. And what's interesting about it is a lot of the historical stuff like is accurate reasonably. So like in the movie they try to poison Rasputin with a cake. He goes down and then gets back up and it turns out he's still alive. That happened in real life. When he was
Oh, yeah?
assassinated. That's how yeah, that's what happened. Like that apparently that scene is pretty much how his assassination went. Not like exactly, but more or less. Um
Interesting.
the fact that all three of the German King George, the German I forget what it's called, and then the Russian Tsar, they were all cousins.
Huh.
So the
Neat.
World War II was a big family fight amongst three cousins, ultimately.
World War
So
One, you mean?
do I keep saying World War II?
You keep saying World War Two.
World War One. World War One is a family squabble. So it's all these people died at the behest of like sorry, at the behest of these three random guys. Not random, but these three guys. Like yeah, who will never step foot on a battlefield. Who will never fight anything in their lives. Ridiculous.
Royalty, I tell you.
Yeah, and then yeah,
Down with the monarchy.
the funniest bit is at the end in the mid credit scene where Hitler walks in, like it's a post credit scene for a Marvel movie. Very ridiculous.
Yeah, that feels in poor taste.
Um, but yeah,
No,
this
just
movie,
me.
yeah, probably a little bit. But it was definitely one of those things. That's the moment where I kind of was like, oh, when you get to see anyone in the trenches, you kind of realize, like, yeah, man, these guys on the ground, they're suffering on the whims of these guys who feel nothing for what they're doing. It's just so bizarre, in my opinion.
War never changes.
Right? Yeah. It's just I think that's the general sense. It's like, man, the general just, especially in World War One, the futility of it is just so Yeah, but yeah, it's otherwise. It's not a very well received movie. Not many people liked it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all those movies. I don't think Matthew Vaughn has made a movie I didn't like.
Interesting.
That's it. That's The
Interesting.
King's Man.
So that leads us to our have not seens.
Yes, it does.
Um,
It does
so I'll
indeed.
kick this. I'll kick this off. I
Light this
watched
candle.
L.A. I'll kick this off. I watched L.A. Confidential, which is a 1997 American neo-noir crime film.
Right.
Which first one I've really watched of this kind.
Isn't L.A.
And
Noir based on this movie?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure that's where the name L.A. Noir came from. Was a reference to L.A. Confidential. Pretty sure.
I mean, that's certainly possible, or it could be one of the other novels that comes from this series. Because apparently this is the third, based off of the third book in his L.A. Quartet series. So it might be one of the other ones, but this movie takes place in 1953, and we follow Russell Crowe's character, who at the time he was a fairly unknown actor. He was 33 in this movie when he filmed this movie, I should say. And this one also had I know the actor's name, but I'm currently blanking on it. He got in trouble for stuff. Kevin Spacey. This one has Kevin Spacey
He
in
got
it.
in trouble. Yeah, that seems like an oversimplification. He got in trouble for stuff.
It also has Danny DeVito in this one, which is funny because
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it, but I definitely
the
recognize the name.
opening monologue that it starts with is Danny DeVito, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, is that Danny DeVito I hear? He's got a very distinct voice. I'm pretty sure that's Danny DeVito. And then later on we actually see Danny DeVito. I'm like, there he is. There's the man. There's my man Danny DeVito.
That's my man Danny D. Always a
But yeah,
delight to see
basically
her.
this follows Russell Crowe and another detective and stuff. And there's police corruption. The police chief, who's played by, I'm pretty sure he's a Targaryen of some sort. Hold on,
Targaryen.
Captain Dudley Smith, James Cromwell.
Do not recognize the name. Wait, yes I do. Why do I recognize the name? Oh, he's he was in one of the Jurassic Park movies.
He was in Star Trek First Contact.
Oh yeah,
He's the
yeah. I know who he is. I can picture
which
him.
is why, and he's in Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom.
Yes, he is. Yes,
Is he not the same guy that plays Targaryen?
No, I think you're thinking of Charles Dance.
I might be. They look very similar. Anyways, he's the police chief. Spoiler alert, you end up finding out that he's been framing African American people
Because of course
for having done these for doing these. It's 1950s. We expect this in LA.
It's true.
But he was framing them so that he could take over this one crime boss's crime syndicate and like make money while also being the chief of police. And he would have gotten away with it too if Russell Crowe had murdered the one cop that he was supposed to and stayed in line. But no, Russell Crowe had to like reasonably end up talking to the man that slept with his girlfriend at the time. And it's this whole crime noir. It's not bad. It's definitely weird seeing what I know as a 60-year-old man at my age.
Right? It's always weird for me.
This came out in 97. But
he was our age in 97?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, apparently.
Right, is it in black and white? Is it in black and white?
No, it's not in black and white. It's in color.
Huh.
But it's not bad. Maybe I'll force you to watch it. Who knows?
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Not I. Not I.
Not I.
Well, I mean, it will be me. I will be the one to say whether or not you are forced to watch this.
But you keep giving away the game. Giving away the game.
Wink.
Wink.
So what's your first have not seen?
My first I've not seen was a movie I enjoyed so much that it bumped 1917 up from the list, and that's a movie. It's from 19. Oh, I want to get the exact year right. I want to say 1940, but hold on. Let's make sure I get it. 1940. Yeah, I got it right. Directed and starring Mr. Charles Chaplin. It's a movie called The Great Dictator. And I know what you're thinking, Jordan. You hear the name Charles Chaplin, and you're like, why are you not calling him Charlie Chaplin? Call him Charlie Chaplin. That's the name everyone knows him at. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call him Charles Chaplin like he's credited in the movie. You're like, Justin, surely that means it's a silent film. Jordan, it is not a silent film. It is, in fact, one of Charlie Chaplin's only talkies. One of the only talkies he did. And Jordan, have you heard
I would have assumed then that he's not called Charles Chaplin in this because Charles Chaplin is the character that he plays when he's silent, and this is a different character.
No, technically the character he plays when he's silent is called the Tramp. He's credited in this. I don't know if I don't think they credit him as Charlie Chaplin. I think he's always credited as Charles Chaplin. But this is good. This is a very good movie. I was expecting it to be a boring silent movie. I knew that he talked at the end because I know you're familiar with The Dictator, right?
No.
No? Oh, it's a black and white one. It's the one everyone's seen the big speed, the monologue that Charlie Chaplin does at the end where he's like, I don't want to be a dictator. I want to be no? If I showed it to you, I guarantee you would recognize it. But Charlie Chaplin plays two roles. He plays a Jewish barber and a Hitler analog by the name of, I think it's Heinrich Hinkle, something Hinkle, because every time they greet each other, they go Heil Hinkle, and it's very funny. And he basically there's sort of two. He plays both these characters, and there's sort of two stories. It begins during World War I, where this Jewish barber who is unnamed but dresses like the Tramp but isn't the Tramp, saves this pilot, this general, and over the course of however many years, the Henrik Hinkle or whatever, it becomes in charge, and it basically is Nazi Germany. And when he gets angry, speaks in this kind of like garbled German sounding like screamy language. And he wants to invade this one country, but he needs the support of this other country who is basically just Mussolini. And it's very funny. It turns out then that when Charlie Chaplin speaks, he's very witty. Like this movie is very interesting because it's very much a man who is not confident with the medium that he's using, because there's a lot of scenes where it just kind of devolves to silent movie shenanigans, is what I would call it, where it's just a scene from a silent movie. There's no dialogue. And he's just doing goofs. And then there's scenes where there's lots of dialogue, and the scenes where there's lots of dialogue is good. Like, he's very fun. He's got a very quick sense of humor. He's got a lot of, his whole bit is to be the straight man in a lot of scenarios, and they're really funny. Like, there's this really funny bit where he where they it's Nazi Germany, so they write Jew on the front of his barber shop, and he goes outside to like wipe it off, and the guy's like, you better not do that. He's like, why not? And it turns into basically this version of Who's on First, that kind of style of vaudeville, kind of back and forth.
Oh yeah,
and he's very quick-witted. There's a really funny bit where where they're in an airplane, and they're flying upside down, and his watch is like hanging upside down, so it's like sticking up in the air, and he's like, what time is it? And he's like, looks like it's about 5 o'clock, and he lets it go back up in the air. and there's just a lot of, there's a lot of really like solid jokes that are just good, well-written jokes that I'm like, this is fun. Like, this is a legitimately funny movie, and it's also still sort of relevant. Like, his speech at the end is still very poignant. Like I say, I was impressed. Any movie from the 1940s when it comes to stunts, I'm like, they actually did that. And it's on YouTube. I would fully recommend it. It's very good. It's not. I didn't find it boring. I found it very entertaining. I would totally recommend it. I don't want to talk about it again next week though, so don't worry about that. But that's it. That's The Great Dictator.
Okay. All right.
Now for the main
So
event of the evening.
now we come full circle. A week ago, I was told that I should watch Cinderella Man. And then I based this entire week around Russell Crowe because I didn't want to just watch boxing movies in French. Um, and so Cinderella Man, biographical drama about um, James J. Braddock.
Yep.
Russell Crowe plays him, um, and it's
Very
for what it
depressing.
is. For what it is, it's well made and it's good. The boxing scenes are enjoyable.
Yeah, they're well choreographed. That's why I remember that. They're fun to
Yeah.
watch. Your boxing scene should
Um,
be your best part about your boxing movie. Like that's just
yeah.
good
And I
character.
definitely feel like it is. The rest of it, for
I
what it is
I recall it
good.
getting very very dull in the center. But to be fair, most sports
Okay.
movies do.
You said it, not me.
I recall
Um,
that, but to be fair, I remember it being
um,
quite long. But it's a biopic. They're
yeah.
engineered that way. You
It's
can't begrudge it for being what it
yeah.
is.
Well, that's where I said for what it is, it's very well made.
Yeah, yeah.
It's informative. I definitely feel like I learned a lot, which is kind of the goal for a biopic.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, my thing with this one was like, yeah, you kind of forget how old boxing is. Like, it's been around forever. Like the notion
yeah,
that people
yeah.
did this and it's probably less safe back then.
It absolutely would have been. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it, but um, I will say the manager friend. Whenever I see him pop up in something, I just think of liar, 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 not liar, big fat liar.
Oh yeah, it's Paul Giamatti. Yeah. I love Paul Giamatti. He's always fun.
He's always fun.
He's always a delight.
Um,
I forgot he was in this movie. He's really
uh,
good. He's his manager.
yeah, manager friend.
Yeah. So the big thing
Um,
is he becomes this. I believe it's like he becomes a southpaw because he trains his hand by working on the docks because he breaks his hand.
yeah, well, basically, he breaks his hand in the one fight, and then he has to give up fighting, and he goes works as a longshoreman, and using his other hand, he becomes proficient in it, which makes him a better fighter. And then he comes back for like a one night fight, knocks out his opponent in the third round, which gets him back into fighting, and now he's a stronger fighter as a result of it, and he ended up winning
Yeah, it
the
becomes
championship.
championship. Yeah, it becomes champion.
Um, and Yeah, I mean it's good. It's fun. I can see why it was recommended to me. Had I not watched had this here's what I'll say. Had this not been the last thing I watched after a bunch of dry dramas and a lot of Russell Crowe movies which I didn't feel were that strong, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, fair enough. It's funny. We'll get to it. Are you done with Cinderella Man?
That is it. We have danced around the subject long enough. What is your last have not seen?
We're gonna talk about All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a World War One movie, based on a book written by German. In this movie, I watched the 2022 version, and I kind of regretted not watching the 1930 version, because I like this movie. To just bury the lead, I like this
So
movie. It's well made. It's
before you
emotional.
before you before you jump in it too fast, I just really fast. I'm never gonna forget this story. I've never read or heard of All Quiet on the Western Front, but well, I've heard of it, but I've never read or watched the movie. I should say, read the book or watched the movie. But I'm never gonna forget the name because when I was in high school, I had a friend, and you know the friend,
I know the
and
friend.
and my class at the time, it was like brand new to the curriculum. We got to read The Kite Runner, and his class had to do All Quiet on the Western Front. And for years he would not let me live that down and was pissed because he was
Yes.
like, you got the new exciting book and I had to read All Quiet on the fucking Western Front. For years he would not
Um,
let me live that down.
I have not read the book. I've seen the original 1930 movie. Today we're going to talk about the 2022 movie, I think is when it came out. And look, bury the lead. I like this movie. I like this story because I like that it's told from a German perspective. It's where my thesis of like there were no good or bad guys. It's all about perspective comes from because from at the end of this movie, from our Western perspective, our Western powers are the good guy. The Brits, the French, the whomever are the good guys, right? But this movie ends with, spoiler alert, the main character gets stabbed in the back by like a French soldier, I think. Um, and we've been led to sympathize with this character this whole movie, right? And it's like in this situation, we're the bad guys. So it's all about your perspective. Like all it's funny. A lot of this movie is painted,
and that's where
the same.
I do want to say there are
on.
bad guys. They're just at the top.
Yeah, just at the top. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like there's a bit in, I think, this one. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. It might be this one. Where there's a general, who there's a subplot they've added for this movie of them trying to negotiate an armistice, and one of the generals like, I will fight till the very last drop, and it's this fat general, and it's like, you're not really fighting, are you? You're not the one who has to die for this. It's just the cold detachment of it. It was what struck me. And yeah, this movie very much is a movie, and it's a story about being the little guy, about being the guy in the trenches, about being the guy who they don't care about. Like the end of the movie ends with
pawn.
Yeah, like he doesn't even get remembered. Like the movie ends with a soldier finds his body, and he has a scarf from like a French girl, and the guy takes the scarf and leaves his dog tags, so he never gets identified. And it's a very bloody and violent and unpleasant movie. And yeah, it's very well directed. The cinematography is very good. The performances are very good. I'm very glad I watched it in German, although it's very funny because if you do the English closed captioning subtitles, there's a scene where the character is speaking in French and the other characters are speaking German. Every time it switches back to German, the subtitle says they're speaking English. So I kept fucking with my brain. I'm like, they're not speaking English, they're speaking German. But then if you switch to just the English subtitles, it doesn't show what he's saying in French. It just shows what they're saying in German.
Weird.
It's very strange. But I found truthfully, for Jake, I like the 2022 remake, but I find the 1930 movie to be more audacious. Because 1930s, right? This is pre-World War II. Like, this is Hitler's thing. Like, Hitler saw All Quiet on the Western Front. He didn't like it. He didn't like All Quiet on the Western Front because he felt that it made it, for the exact reason why I like it. He didn't like it because it made Germans look sympathetic. It made them look weak. And I think this movie, unless I missed it, I might have missed it. But there's a scene in the original movie where they go, the whole thing is this whole movie begins with them getting recruited by like a charismatic professor at a university who's basically like, if you go to war, you'll become a hero and you'll come back home and everyone will love you. Do this for your country. Do this for Germany. And they go
for love of your Führer.
You know, I know this is World War One, so it's the Kaiser, for the love of your Kaiser.
Kaiser.
And so they go to war, and it's like, yeah, man, doesn't matter which side you're on. There's a scene where they're all in this bunker, and they're just terrified because they just hear like explosions and gunshots off in the distance, and they're all terrified. And it's like, yeah, you would be too. And I don't think they do it in the remake, but in the original one, the guy like pisses his pants. He goes out to the battle and he immediately pisses his pants, and it's like, yeah, fair enough. Like, fair enough.
War is hell.
But yeah, I found the one in the 1930s to be more audacious because it was like, people, this is fairly shortly after World War II or World War I, had ended. Like, people aren't sympathetic to Germany, and so it kind of made me go like, you know what? Like, everyone always goes, oh, what would the world be like if World War II didn't happen? But it kind of made me go, what would happen if World War I didn't happen? Adolf Hitler doesn't happen. World War II doesn't happen.
Well, we can't say that.
Well,
maybe he would have, and that would have led to a different World War I, which was just World War II.
Well, no, because a lot of World War II, his rise to power is built on the resentment of the punitive measures put towards the German government, they felt to the overall European theater. That's all based on the resentment due to World War I. So without World War One, I don't think he would have that resentment. So I don't know who's to say, but yeah,
Who's to say?
that's where my question went this week. I was like, you know what? Nobody talks enough about like the political, or no, I guess culturally we don't really consider World War One. I guess not as much as we do World War Two. But anyway, I enjoyed it. It was interesting. Like I say, the story fascinates me because, like we've said already, the Germans have become a cultural cartoon bad guy. I mean, you got like Don't Mention the War. Yeah, Mel Brooks, Family Guy, all these people. Stormtroopers. Like they've become kind of a cultural joke, and so it's always interesting to see from their perspective. The fact that this is from the movie and the book by extension are from the German perspective, and to see like, no man, like there's an early scene where they're being like essentially briefed or whatever, and it's the same as if they were American. Like it's like, and a lot of these scenes of them in the trenches, it's no different than the scenes of the British people in the trenches in Kingsman. It's all the same. And like the end of it makes the point that's like all these people died over like a few meters of land, like no man's land, the where the trenches were. Like they were fighting back and forth over like a few meters of land for like 5 years, and millions of people died as a result. Like that is, on its face, when you say it like that, kind of ridiculous sounding.
Oh, absolutely, it is. That's the thing. War never changes, and it's always hell.
It's always the same. Yeah, always the same. And the people are the ones who truly suffer.
And most importantly, the history is written by the victor.
Victory is written by the victor. Anyway, that was Jake's picks. Thanks, Jake, for suggesting those. I thoroughly enjoyed those, and I think it created a thought-provoking discussion amongst friends.
Wink.
And Jordan watched a bunch of Russell Crowe movies. Anyway, time to talk about the assignment for next week. Next week, we constantly talk about. You know what? I'm just gonna skip right to it. Next week, there's some movies I keep saying I want Jordan to watch, and I keep trying to manufacture ways to make him watch them. And I decide I'm just gonna drop all pretenses. We've done a theme in a previous week called "Mostly a Free Choice." This week we're gonna do a theme I like to call it's sort of a free choice, where I'm gonna make Jordan watch more movies than 2. So Jordan, these are the movies you must watch for next week. You must watch The Room by Tommy Wiseau. You must watch The Disaster Artist featuring James Franco and Dave Franco. You must watch The Bad Guys. And as bonus, I will suggest you listen to the audiobook of The Disaster Artist, the book that the movie's based on. And that's it. The rest are your choice. But you must have a unifying theme, if possible.
All right, and I will come at you with what I want you to do at some point.
Yes. You have any ideas as a sneak preview? You have at least one to tease the audience for what's coming next week. Oh, and also 2 weeks from now on December, I think it's 2 weeks from now, but on December 8th, I want to do this now, and I'll probably do another promo later. But on December 8th, it's the spur of the moment 1 year spectacular extravaganza. Jordan, extravaganza. There we go. Is our 1 year of doing this on the 8th. So we're gonna do a special where we have to pick stuff that the other one has talked about. So Jordan's got to pick something I've talked about. I got to pick something he's talked about. We got to do a big thing about it. And we're inviting everyone who wants to be on the show. Anyone. Haley, Jake, Virus, any of the Goosebumps crew.
Soraya,
Michael, Tim, you're out there somewhere. Jake, all you guys, you're all invited. We're going to talk about movies we talked about on the show before. We'll talk about some news. We'll do the show. We'll hang out. It'll be fun. We'll celebrate the fact that we've been doing a podcast for a year. That's coming. Or no one will show up. It'll just be me and Jordan. But that I'm putting that out there for everyone. Everyone, you're invited.
Definitely one of those two things will
Now,
happen.
Jordan, I've allowed you enough time to stall. Name one. Tease the audience.
The first thing that popped into my head was the American Death Note.
Damn you, Jordan. Damn you to hell.
That's the first thing that popped in my head, but I'm not married to that.
So that might be coming. I might have to talk about the American Death Note movie. I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it.
I need to go I need to go peruse and see.
That's it. We're at the end of the show. Jordan, where can they find you?
I do Minecraft Monday.
Don't ask him to give you the tour.
Twitch, unless you're looking for like an hour-long tour.
See the Minecraft movie
in
the bit
you
where
know what's funny is last week I think someone did come from here.
Really?
Because there was someone who popped in very briefly and was like, "Yeah, I heard about it on on the last podcast," and so I popped in.
Amazing!
Like,
That's amazing! Cross promotion's working, baby. That's awesome. I love that. Yes, excellent. That means that we're not wasting our time here. Yeah. In the trailer, when you saw Jack Black's
187.
When you saw Jack Black's little room, it made me think of your like little fortress you have. I always see you in when you're doing it. Like he's with all your stuff. You're like, this is where all my stuff is.
This is where my stuff that I've hoarded is.
But sorry, what was that again? Where's that? When is that?
Zethgore 187 on Twitch. I do Minecraft Monday.
And you can find me. I'm on TikTok. I'm at Justin Spurr on TikTok. We are also on the TikTok at Spur of the Moment P. You can find us there. We post clips. Subscribe if you haven't. I post long form videos at least once every other week that are condensed versions of this with edits and fun stuff. Email the show. It's justinsbusiness at gmail.com if you want to sponsor the show. We will take any sponsor. If you're like, hey, I want to be a guest, there's a little Google form you can fill out. That'll tell me what topic you want, and we can craft a show around your ideas like we did for Jake's today. We are creative people. We can do that. Am I missing it? Discord. The Discord link in the description of this video is currently updated. Come join our Discord. You can. That's where the show happens. That's where the show happens. It happens.
And remember, you can get a trophy from TrophySmack.com using the link into the description below.
Good.
To get trophies, belts, and other things that are for sale.
Next week we're gonna be quoting "It's the room. You're tearing me apart, Lisa." That's the end of the show. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.